in
Yes, of
Dolly's
course.
passing.
Yeah, and I think it was from Best Little Whorehouse in Texas that she did the song Hard Candy Christmas, which is like one of
Yes.
the best, most heartbreaking Christmas songs ever. It's a sad one, but it's so lovely. Her rendition of that song and her later release of that. Yeah, I mean, she had a great film career. I mean, Steel Magnolias and of course 9 to 5 and Straight Talk, and later she did Joyful Noise, which she filmed here in Atlanta up until her Netflix series Heartstrings a couple of years ago. She did a limited series for Netflix where every episode was inspired by one of her songs. She filmed that here in Atlanta, and they held a wonderful premiere up in Dollywood. So I got to go up and cover the career, interview her and a lot of the cast members. And that's another story too, just about her generosity. So the premiere was held at Dollywood, and so there was a big red carpet, and you had Julianne Hough, and you had a lot of big stars that were in the show that were walking the red carpet. And then Dolly Parton allowed, or didn't, I'm not allowed, but she opened it up and said, everybody who works here at Dollywood, you get to walk the red carpet too. You get to get your pictures taken, and then you get to go in and watch the premiere of the show. So another great example of her generosity, that she's coming in the middle of the theme park here, and she says, you know what, look, you are all working hard. You walk the red carpet, you go watch the show, and you have a good night too. And I'll tell you, just from being there, her employees, or the employees of Dollywood, were so thrilled to get to do that, to get to walk the red carpet, get their pictures taken. Many of them get their pictures taken with her, and then go in the theater with all the big stars who were all, decked out, and to watch the show. That was a really cool moment.
And Hard Candy Christmas is actually the song I mentioned earlier in a previous segment as one of my favorite, if not my
Oh,
favorite, Dolly Parton
yes.
songs. And after my brother and I watched the movie recently, and that was actually one of the scenes that actually got me choked up, was when they sang that song for the first time. She has her employees at the brothel with her. She's saying goodbye to them.
Mhm.
Hate to spoil it for people, but my brother the next day texted me a link to that song. It was just like, this is one of the best songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
the best Christmas song I've ever heard.
Oh, I'm so glad you know that. I know. It's like, if you know, you know. It is such a great song. But she had great Christmas music overall. She did that classic album with Kenny Rogers, and You Make This a Christmas to Remember was on that album. And I interviewed her right after he had passed away, and
Mm.
she was really emotional about that. They had a great musical partnership and had a lot of fun together. But that album, her and Kenny, that's on every Christmas holiday at my house. Yeah, I mean, she's somebody who touched so many aspects of our lives, and that will go on. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about Dolly Parton, is that we have the work, we have those movies, and now people will be discovering the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and Hard Candy Christmas and these albums that maybe they didn't know before. I have a feeling if we went on iTunes right now, she's probably the top songs and
Blowing up.
albums
She's
across the board,
blowing
right?
up. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I was gonna say too. You mentioned Kenny Rogers and that Christmas album. Well, like the Christmas album wasn't even the most iconic thing she did with Kenny Rogers. When they have one of the best love song duets of all time with "Islands in the
No,
Stream,"
I
which
know,
we've
I know.
seen so many artists. If you have a friend in country music on who's a male and a female, they want to do a duet of that song. It's become a thing
Yeah.
where everyone wants to release their own version of "Islands in the
Yeah.
Stream."
Yeah, you think that some karaoke bars will probably be pretty busy with people paying tribute to Dolly Parton, singing that song over the next few months for sure. And that, again, I mean, so many music artists I can imagine. You hope for one or two timeless hits. Think of how many this woman had. I mean, again, what I was saying about just living on through songs like Jolene and I Will Always Love You and Here We Go Again and Hard Candy Christmas and Islands in the Stream. It's just so many. And of course, 9 to 5 too. Another cool thing, I was down there or up there at Dollywood for, can't remember why we were there this time, but it was for the opening of something up there. But she was doing interviews, and so she was set up and there was a crowd of fans around her. That was the fun thing at Dollywood, is that when she was there, you kind of never knew, but when she was there, she was really pretty accessible. Like, you could get pretty close. People would get pictures with her. There would always be little girls dressed up as Dolly Parton in their coat of many colors, and she always took pictures. But Dolly Parton sat there in the middle of this crowd, and we were preparing to do our interview with her. And she would do this thing with her nails where she would start to sort of play her nails almost like a washboard. And she sang 9 to 5 for the crowd, like playing her acrylic nails like a washboard. It was an amazing moment. The whole crowd was singing along. Such a joyful, very cool moment. And of course, everybody in the crowd knew every one of those words, right?
Yeah, you've been extremely generous with your time here, Will. Final word, just anything you want to add on Dolly's legacy, as we were just showing shots of the Walk of Fame where Dolly's star is located.
Yeah, I mean, I think I interviewed Dolly Parton during the pandemic, which was obviously a really tumultuous time. And I remember asking her, people turn to you for guidance. And do you have any messages for people during this really troubled time where people are scared and uneasy and there's a lot going on? And her message was just, we all should love each other a little bit more. And I think that piece of wisdom from her and that clear driving factor for her is something that hopefully will live on, and that will be her legacy, because she is not somebody over the next few weeks as we write and reflect on Dolly Parton who has moments that we're going to want to not talk about. I mean, she just was a good person through and through, and certainly good to her fans and her family and her home state. And so hopefully that really is the legacy. The music, the movies, everything is incredible, but the way that she lived her life, that kind of integrity and love, I think that's what will ultimately carry on.
That's really well said, Paul. And I think a lot of people can learn a lot, especially in this tumultuous time that we live in right
No
now.
kidding.
Learn a lot
Yeah.
about treating your fellow human being and how to treat your fellow human being by the example that Dolly Parton set. So we appreciate you so much, Paul. And you're definitely welcome back on anytime. And thank you for sharing those awesome stories. That was really cool.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you.
All right. We got the Hollywood Walk of Fame right now, where the
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Fox 9 All Day. My name is Tim Blotz, filling in for Courtney Godfrey here for the next couple of days as she had to get out of town. So I want to thank you for welcoming us into your office space this afternoon, at home, on your mobile device, or wherever you are streaming our coverage here in the Fox Local app. We deeply appreciate that you want to spend a little bit of time with us. My goodness, we've got a lot to talk about here today. We're going to be talking with some children later on who started this lemonade stand, this wonderful lemonade stand that is going to be raising money to help buy books and school supplies for their classmates, and just such a great effort. Ahmad Hicks is at Vikings training camp once again. We're going to be checking in with him. Of course, we'll get some updates on our weather tonight, because we know we've got some storms that are going to be perhaps moving in overnight. And then our headlines of the day, because the biggest headline just developed within about the past 45 minutes, and that's, of course, the passing of beloved Dolly Parton at 80 years old. My goodness, what an icon, right? And literally when this came over the wires in the newsroom, there was a gasp by Allie Johnson, who sits next to me, who was our big web producer, and she said, "Oh, Dolly's dead." And that's all it took. And the entire newsroom just lit up, because she's so well known across generations, right? And Allie is very much a Gen Zer. I'm very much a baby boomer, and she just related to everyone that she touched with her music and her philanthropy. The announcement was made on Instagram just a short time ago by her nephew, who is also her director of security, and just broke the news saying it's been heartbreaking for the entire family. I think fans knew that she'd been going through a rough time lately. She recently shared that she was dealing with some dizziness and dehydration, which forced her to cancel some public appearances on doctor's orders. And she'd been open about putting her own health on hold while caring for her late husband of almost 60 years, Carl Dean, who just passed away last year. And she leaves behind such a legacy of entertainment. Of course, the timeless hits like Jolene, 9 to 5, and I Will Always Love You. And then beyond her music, her countless awards. Remember the story here a couple of years ago when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland wanted to induct her into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she said, no, I don't belong there. We should give that to more of a rock and roller, someone who really belongs. But I think they ended up inducting her anyhow over her objections. But my goodness, in the Singwriter Hall of Fame, the Grand Ole Opry, I mean, she just touched every genre of music because she had such this amazing ability to cross over and appeal to so many different audiences. So Dolly Parton, God bless her, dead at the age of 80. Also, another story that we're following, and this is taking place as we speak. There's a hearing in federal court right now in Texas over the extradition of Christian Carlos, who's the ICE agent who's accused of shooting a man in North Minneapolis during the ICE operations here in Operation Metro Surge from back in January. Now, Governor Walz formally requested Castro's return to Minnesota, but Texas Governor Greg Abbott has withheld recognizing the warrant for at least 3 months. And now the deadline is coming up on Thursday. They've got a 90-degree rule in Texas that you have to be signed off by a judge or extradited or you get released. And officials in Minnesota, particularly Attorney General Keith Ellison, is worried that with Castro's ties to Mexico, that he could be a flight risk and head across the border. He's currently being held in a county jail in Texas, where he's now held. Governor Abbott has asked a judge today to reject this lawsuit, basically claiming that he still has doubts that Castro is a fugitive, and he's waiting for an official ruling from the Texas Secretary of State on that. A hearing is set for this afternoon. Our Paul Bloom is covering this extensively. We hope to maybe talk to him at some point here this afternoon. If not, he will have the complete rundown for us tonight, beginning at 5 o'clock on the Fox 9 Evening News. And then Mike Lindell. He's withholding now the payment to the Secretary of State's office for the primary recount. Of course, he lost the primary recount to Lisa Demuth, the Speaker of the House, who won the Republican nomination to run for governor against Amy Klobuchar, who won the Democratic nomination. He's the CEO of MyPillow, very well known across the country. He asked for a recount in this particular race to look into what he believes are irregularities in some of the vote counts. And he has amassed the $825,000 needed for this recount, but he is withholding that now. And under state law, you have to pay for these recounts. Election officials say they're prepared to count all Republican ballots, but won't start the process until Lindell actually pays that required fee. Another big story we're watching is the Supreme Court. This is a big one today because basically they have cleared the president's executive order now to restrict mail-in balloting, or at least how many of these ballots go out and what people they go to. This is a big deal, particularly here in the state of Minnesota. I looked this up earlier today, and back in November of 2024, we had 1.27 million absentee and mail-in ballots that were submitted here in the state of Minnesota. This has become an extremely popular way of casting your vote in this state, cleared by some more liberalized rules by the state legislature to allow more people to vote here by absentee ballot. And just 2 weeks ago, in the August primary here, 206,000 mail-in ballots were accepted by local election officials across the state. So we're going to keep a closer eye on how the Supreme Court ruling might force changes to Minnesota election laws before we head to the polls coming up in November. It's just a few months away now. And then the trade war with Canada could be threatening both the economies of not just the United States, not just Canadians, but those of us in Minnesota too. I think we tend to forget how big trade is for the state of Minnesota. Roughly 24% of all Minnesota's total goods exported worldwide go to Canada. They're a major trading partner for the state of Minnesota. Last year alone, we exported $5.6 billion in goods across to Canada. Because of our proximity here with the Canadians and our shared border, there's a lot of business and commerce that goes back and forth. And on the flip side, we also rely heavily on Canada. We import more than $14 billion worth of Canadian products each year. So these new tariffs and trade restrictions today announced by the Canadian government, they are imposing now 50% tariffs on a number of new products crossing the border. So this is going to be a big international issue. Also, this one coming from City Hall today, actually county government. No felony charges in the City Hall incident involving Jake Lang. He's the conservative influencer that was going to hold a rally here in Minneapolis on Saturday. There was an altercation, perhaps not all that surprising, between his entourage and opponents. Two cars were driven up onto a sidewalk near City Hall. They were later pulled over and arrested by Minneapolis police. However, County Attorney Mary Moriarty today says that she cannot process criminal charges. She believes in this case because there was some prior communication between Minneapolis police and the staff of Jake Lang. And she said basically this decision comes down to a lack of intent, citing extensive communication and logistical coordination between Minneapolis police and Lang security detail leading up to this event. But County Attorney Moriarty did not mince any words here today, calling Lang's actions on Saturday despicable and disgusting. Her words. While felony charges are off the table, this doesn't mean the entire group is off and out of the clear. The city attorney could still decide to fire low-level gross misdemeanor and misdemeanor charges against them all. And then out of the Vikings today, and this is just total fun because you may have seen this earlier, but they announced what their rivals' uniforms will look like, okay? I'm just going to hold up one little element here. Okay, so this is the football helmet. And notice the little design, right? The Norwegian design and the stripe going across. And some of the Nordic, there we go. Yeah, I'm going to see what camera I need to hold this up to. That one right there. The Vikings on the back. This is the same kind of font that they use outside of the stadium. We're going to show you the uniform later on, and you can get a sneak peek on all of this on fox9.com. We've got the lowdown there. So that's just kind of a fun thing we'll talk to Ahmad Hicks about a little later on. And by the way, this is for the game against the Detroit Lions. It's going to come up on December 20th. So you've got plenty of time to load up on your gear for that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, I want to talk a little bit about Dolly Parton with Paul Milgate, our producer today. Paul, you illustrate more than anyone else the international reach of Dolly Parton. You grew up in Australia, and she was just as big of a star there as she is in the United States, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this might surprise people, but I grew up in a tiny little town in the middle of Australia, 3,000 people. Mm-hmm. This just shows the reach of Dolly Parton. My hometown hosts a festival, an annual festival every year, the Dolly Parton Festival.
Get out, really?
So the reach, and she's just loved. And Kelly O'Brien, the impersonator that probably the world's best Dolly Parton impersonator that you may have seen on the Jason Show. She actually performed in Narromine at the Dolly Parton Festival, and not last year, but the year before that, I think. So this reach of this one individual, and beyond music as well, her imagination library that you can sign up for if you've got a child. If you sign up from when the child is born until the time that they age out of that program, I think they can get up to 60 books.
Oh my goodness.
To encourage reading, and so that people have access to these books, because Dolly grew up in Tennessee, small little town, and she actually saw the impact that it could have if children were given the tools to learn and given the tools to read. And so she's taken her money, her very own money, set up this amazing program where she can get books that are... The other sweet thing that she thought was really important to them was that on the mailing tag that it had the child's name, because she knew what it was for kids to receive something in the post.
In their name. And that underscores too what she grew up with and where she came from. She often talked about growing up in poverty in Tennessee and Appalachia. And that influenced her the rest of her life, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And my favorite story about, I mean, there's a million stories. We could probably talk all 3 hours about the stories that Dolly Parton had and the little surprise gems. Like, I'm sure everyone had that moment when they realized I Will Always Love You was written by and originally performed by Dolly Parton, that huge, big, epic song by Whitney Houston. Dolly and this beautiful understated, version of it. But my favorite story that I heard Dolly talk about one time was that she has a secret track, an as yet unreleased track. Are you familiar with this?
No.
So
do tell.
She has an unreleased track. It's called My Place in History. It is set to be released. Now, I'm not entirely sure if it's on her 100th birthday or the 30th anniversary of Dollywood. It's apparently in the lower lobby of Dollywood, in a beautiful little wooden box. It's on a CD with instructions of how to play it. And the most charming thing about Dolly is, when she was talking about this particular song, was like, gosh dang it, I should have released this one. It's a really good track. And so we've got that tease that we've lost Dolly, but I think it's 2046, 2045. We will get to hear a new Dolly Parton song.
Well, and that doesn't surprise me, given the master marketer that she was. She was just a master at marketing, at branding, at philanthropy, at thinking ahead. She was just amazing.
Yeah, an incredible individual. And if you're ever fortunate enough to be down and go to the Country Music Hall of Fame down Memphis, not Memphis. What's the other one? My brain. Nashville. That's it. How embarrassment! Don't any country music fans will be screaming at their television. If you ever get the chance to go there, amazing collection of Dolly Parton's costumes of over the years, and all this amazing paraphernalia of her amazing career and what she's contributed to that music scene.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking more here coming up shortly with one of the hosts from our country music station, K102 here in town. More about Dolly and her legacy coming up. So we've got a lot to talk about, especially with Dolly Parton here this afternoon, because I know you have so many memories as well. Growing up with Dolly, her music, her philanthropy, and just admiring everything about her. I'm willing to bet that maybe one or two of you at some point even bought one of the cake or brownie mixes at the grocery store in the baking section. So her reach was far and wide. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, guys. Is that the plan? All right, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back more here on Fox 9 all day this afternoon. Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day here this afternoon. The time now is 2:26 here on a Tuesday afternoon. My name is Tim Blotz, and I'm filling in on the show today for our Courtney Godfrey, both today and tomorrow. We're continuing to talk about the loss of Dolly Parton, and what an incredible person, philanthropist, artist, humanitarian that she has always been. When the news broke here, literally within the past hour in our newsroom, Allie Johnson, who works our web copy and our web team, literally gasped and she said, "Oh, Dolly's dead." And the entire newsroom just lit up. I have a feeling that this is going to hit people emotionally in so many different ways because she meant so much to so many different people, and so many generations have actually grown up listening to Dolly, watching her perform, and just enjoying who she was as a human being. Joining us now to talk just a little bit more about it is Sam Sansevier with K102 Radio. Sam, thanks for joining us here this afternoon. We deeply appreciate your thoughts and insights into all of this. So often when an event like this happens, people will ask, where were you and what were you doing when you heard so-and-so passed? So what's your story about Dolly?
Yeah, it was just this afternoon, and I was here at home and I was hanging with my dogs, getting ready to go pick up my baby from daycare. And all of a sudden my phone just started blowing up, and I was getting text messages, emails, alerts from our office, basically, because, when something happens like this, there's a lot of things that happen at a radio station. You have to get the news out, both
Right.
on and over the air. Yeah. And so the people who were on air had to quick, tell the world. And that's tricky. That's tough to do, to deliver this kind of news right in that moment. As you know, being in the position that you are in, this is big, and it really stops you in your tracks to lose someone like this.
When the word struck in our newsroom this afternoon by people's reactions, you would have thought the Pope had just died. And, it's that big. And just to kind of underscore this, I know you can't see this. I'm going to hold my phone up to the camera. My daughter is a National Park Service ranger, and she works in Mount Rainier up in the wilderness, where there's no internet coverage, only spotty data. And a half an hour ago, she texted me in all capital letters with 3 exclamation points, and the note is simply, "Not Dolly."
Oh,
So, and that should underscore, and you're talking about a woman who's 20 years old, in her 20s, she's in her late 20s now, but it underscores the generational appeal of Dolly Parton and the emotional impact that she had on just so many people across demographics and across generations and across continents, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Dolly Parton is somebody that your grandma knew, that your mom knew, your dad, your parents, your siblings, your own kids. I mean, it doesn't really matter. She transcends generations, and she's had an impact on everyone. She is someone who has always just been universally loved for a good reason. She's more than a musician. She's more than just a philanthropist. She's somebody who has made an incredible impact on so many. Right. That's a great example with your daughter.
So many of us, I'm part of that generation, Sam, that first got to know Dolly Parton by watching the old Johnny Carson show. The old Tonight Show back in the early 70s, and she was a favorite guest of Johnny Carson. She was on a lot because Carson adored her.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Sam, you represent a younger generation. So what was your first exposure to Dolly? Was it through your parents? Was it through your career in radio?
It was her music, firstly, because her music's just great.
Yeah, right.
Yes, there's a reason why she was so successful in her music career. But then beyond that, she, I think, really speaks to all generations and me when I was growing up, because of the things that she would say, the messages that she would have, and what she represented for young women, especially the way that she has conducted herself as a businesswoman, as someone who's just always been an advocate for being yourself and encouraging people to go out there and do whatever the heck they want to do and have fun with it and be sparkly about it and
Right.
just embrace whatever life throws at you and live life to the fullest. So for me, growing up, it's funny, beyond her music, it's one of those things where I think that when you're like a teenager, you love looking up inspirational quotes for things when you're going through what you think is the biggest deal in the world. And so you go online and you just kind of like look for inspirational things like that. And Dolly quotes were always things that would pop up for me, whether it was just online, whatever, the Dolly-isms, things that she would say are so inspiring. I mean, really lost.
Sam, and I loved how you used the adjective sparkly there in your description. I mean, my goodness, what she wore, her costumes, I mean, everything from the rhinestones to the sequins to the wigs to the push-up bras were all part, I mean, seriously, were all part of her trademark, right? That was her trademark, the rhinestones. But her brand, I would argue, was always compassion and fun and a sense of loyalty and philanthropy. And I think after all is said and done, yes, the people see the rhinestones, but it's the compassion that they will always remember. It's always the Dolly brand, right?
Absolutely. It's that iconic Dolly. Like, you just know when you see her silhouette, you're like, that's Dolly Parton. When you see sparkles, I think a lot of people at this point in country music think about Dolly Parton. And so, yes, absolutely. But you're right, too. It's the way that she makes people feel and the way that she...
Amen.
It's crazy because, obviously, I mean, we're all just kind of digesting this news still, but thinking about it and talking about her and everything, it's just like really making it hit me. And I was never lucky enough to meet Dolly in person, but working in country radio and now just growing up with Dolly there, it seemed like she was everywhere all the time. It's really hitting me now, and I feel myself really getting more.
So, Sam, I have to ask, how are your listeners reacting to this?
Yeah, we've had a lot of people already reaching out to us on social media, commenting on things that we posted, letting people know, and we're sharing, the updates. And people are really, they're reeling by it because she is one of those people who you just feel like is going to always be there. I think that Betty White kind of comes to mind as someone who's a cultural icon that you just kind of always felt like would always be there. And so I think that people are really having a tough time with news like this. Yeah. So we're really seeing it come out with our listeners. And then tomorrow morning on 102.1, when we are talking about it live, I know that we're going to have a lot of people that are calling in and chiming in that want to share their Dolly stories, talk about how she impacted them. And it's, we'll definitely just as the days go on, hear more and more of that.
Sam, let's talk about her music for a moment. But of course, she was always a country star. Always. It's her roots. I mean, the Grand Ole Opry, the Country Music Hall of Fame. I mean, you list the number of accolades that she's had and where her chart toppers have been all of these years. But she had the ability to write more than just a country song, right? She wrote for other artists across genres.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how many artists she wrote for. I think that she wrote something like 3,000 different songs, and it's amazing, and she put out a rock album only a couple of years ago. And so she has transcended beyond even country music in her own music. And then in the writing that she's done, she really is she's something special. And this is a major loss to all across all musical industries, not just.
No question about it. So if country music fans want to continue the conversation on your programs, tell us where they can listen to you and what times are you on the air, Sam?
Thank you so much for that. We are live on air, Chris Carr and Company, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. on 102.1 K102. Of course, on our station, we're going to be talking about this all the time. So anytime you tune in, again, it's 102.1 K102, but me, Chris, and Dubs on Chris Carr and Company will be live on air at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, 5:30 a.m. tomorrow morning until 10 a.m.
It sounds good. And Sam, if they want to connect with you on social media, do you have an Instagram account or Facebook account that you'd like to tell them about?
Yes, thank you. Our station is at K102. Our show is at Chris Carr Show. And me personally, I am at Sam Sansevier. It's a lot of E's, I know, but you can search K102. K102 and me will pop up there. So just search for K102 and you'll find all of our station, our show, and our personalities as well.
Sam, you have been an absolute delight to talk to about Dolly here this afternoon. Thank you so much for your contribution, for your observations, for your memories too, and sharing the outpouring of support from your listeners at K102. We deeply appreciate you.
Truly, thank you so much for having me. It means a lot to be able to talk about an icon like Dolly. So thank you.
That she is. All right. Sam Sansevier, K102. We're going to take a short break and come back with more here on Fox 9 All Day. I'm Tim Blotz. We'll see you here in a moment. Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day, everybody. I want to give you a live look right now at the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where flowers are already being set by the star for Dolly Parton. Of course, we just got word here within about the last hour and 15 minutes that Dolly has died at the age of 80. And there's already just an outpouring of support worldwide. As you can see, people leaving, coming to pay their respects at Dollywood's star on the Walk of Fame there in Hollywood. We want to continue discussion here a little bit with Abe Amon. He's a St. Paul resident who has a love for books, much like Dolly did. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But Abe came up with this great idea, and it has to do with old technology. How many of you, show of hands, rhetorical show of hands at home, have an old Kindle laying around in a desk drawer someplace that you haven't used in a while because it's a little out of place? Paul, you've got one?
I definitely have one that I could be donating to this cause.
Well, what Abe has done, he's seen those old Kindles and he said, hey, I've got an idea for them. Let's load them full of some books and create some free Kindle libraries where people can use these and continue the literacy trend here. So joining us now to talk more about it is Abe Eyman. Abe, thank you so much for joining us. I deeply appreciate it. You had this great idea. And I always love to ask people when and where this idea came up. Tell us about it.
I was just visiting with my friend, and he told me, and we were talking about books, and he told me that they had just recycled their old Kindle. And immediately I probably got a far off, distant look in my eye because the wheels started turning because I have been passionate about reducing technology waste for a couple of years now. And it kind of breaks my heart to hear about people recycling or much worse, throwing away perfectly good technology.
Mm-hmm. And Abe, I take it you're a book reader as well.
I am, yes, I do. I do love to read.
Uh-huh. So you came up with this idea for a free Kindle library. How would that work?
Well, the idea was that I would just get as many old Kindles as I can and put them, well, load books onto them and put them in existing Little Free libraries. So Little Free Library is a Minnesota-based company, organization that has an app and a map, and essentially they, you know, have places where people can build boxes that build their own boxes to share books, or they can buy pre-made boxes. And I actually have a Little Free Library outside of my house, so
Oh, awesome.
I just put my first Kindle in my Little Free Library a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is all kind of driven by the fact that Amazon just announced that they're no longer going to support, or you're no longer going to be able to download Amazon books onto Kindles that are, what, older than, I think, 2012? Is that it?
I think that's right, yeah.
So you've got a whole series of Kindles out there that are not going to be obsolete by any means, but you're not going to be able to download new material on them. So how would this work? You get a hold of some Kindles and you pre-download some books onto them? Is that how you envision this model?
Yeah, and even with the old Kindles, you actually can still download or put books onto them. You just can't connect to the Amazon store. So a lot of the ways that people get their books is through, Wi-Fi and connecting to the Amazon
right?
store.
Yeah.
Yes, and libraries, yes. And what Amazon has done is made it a lot more difficult to get books onto those old Kindles, but not necessarily eradicated the ability. And you can still plug your Kindle into a computer, and there are softwares. I use Calibre Library, and it's a software that you can just drag and drop the files into your Kindle. And so you can still upload new material that you purchase from other places other than Amazon.
So then in theory, is what you're saying is if you pick up one of these used Kindles at one of your free Kindle libraries, you can take it home and download your own books onto this Kindle then and read away.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So how many, you've got one little outside of your house right now, a little free Kindle library. How many others are you trying to set up?
There are probably 15 to 20 Little Free Libraries just within a few blocks of me. On my desk right now, I have 3 old e-readers, and it's not just Kindles. I also have a couple of Nooks, but I guess it's blurred. I'll be loading these up with books that are free to distribute. because I don't want to be breaking any copyright laws, and I want to be respectful of the author's works. And as many as I can, honestly, as much time as I have, and it doesn't take very long once you know how to load books and have a library set up and have a computer set up, then it's just a matter of plugging it in and taking a couple minutes to load the books onto it. And then as I'm going for a walk each day, I can just grab a Kindle and go put it in one of these little free libraries.
So give us an idea of the content that you're putting on here. What you have some favorite books or stories that you're loading on?
Yeah, I think that I mostly have been going with books that are part of the public domain. And so there's Standard eBooks does a great job of commissioning artists to do covers for old books. So, Sherlock Holmes, anything by Agatha Christie,
Classics.
Frankenstein, Dracula, W.E.D. Du Bois has a few books that are part of the public domain. And there are also modern day authors that release their works for free or have authorized the distribution of their books for free. So I also try to keep an eye out for authors that have given written or verbal consent for people to share their books in this way.
So, Abe, for people seeing you right now and saying that and saying to themselves, this is a great idea. I'd like to get involved with this. Where should they go? Do they have a website? Do you have an email address? What's a way of connecting with you?
I do have an email address. My email address is my full name, Abraham Eyman, EYMAN @proton.me. And you also can donate old Kindles to Free Geek Twin Cities. freegeektc.com is, I think, their website. And I have volunteered there before and am going to a workshop there tomorrow night. So I will keep an eye out for old e-readers that come through there.
Sounds good. This is a great idea, and I think a lot of people will take advantage of this too. Abe Eyman joining us to talk about his Kindle Libraries project that he's trying to get going. Abe, thanks so much. All our best to you, all right?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We're approaching 2:59 here on a Tuesday afternoon, 49 on a Tuesday afternoon. We're going to talk Vikings next with Ahmad Hicks coming up right after the break. about this, right? The Vikings today, they made a pretty big announcement that a lot of people are excited about because they have the new Rivals uniform that they unveiled today for the very first time that will be worn by the players on the December 20th game against the Detroit Lions at US Bank Stadium. It's a lot of fun, and a lot of people are talking about it. Among them, our own Ahmad Hicks, who's coming to us live now from Vikings training camp out in Eagan. So, Ahmad, I'm going to show these to everyone right now. I'm going to hold this up to the camera. I love this. It's super dark purple, okay?
Yep.
And they've got metallic gold. They got the runes, and they got the braids on it. And if you look at the scripting for Minnesota Vikings, it's the same kind of scripting and font, the old kind of Norwegian font that they have outside the US Bank Stadium, too. Boy, this is kind of a throwback to a couple of different centuries, right? Maybe a couple of different millennia. What's your reaction? What do you like?
Paying homage to those who came before them. I thought it was all right. I'm in love with the helmet more so than I am the jersey.
Hang on.
I like the small little details. Yep, I saw the helmet.
Yeah.
Simone had a fun bit with that earlier. That's why that chin strap looks all janky right now. But yes, I love that. You know, I'm a fan of uniforms. I'm a fan of different combinations. I know there are a lot of boring people out there that just like the traditional home away jersey, stuff like that. Give me a little bit of options, you know, give them a little bit of style, personality. So I'm a big fan. You know, I like alternate jerseys. I like, you know, rivalry jerseys, all that good stuff. So was I a fan of the Vikings compared to some of the other teams that dropped? Not so much, but I'm still a fan of different uniform combinations.
Yeah, I'm born and raised a Packer fan, and I've always hated their throwback uniforms over the years. They're just awful.
I like the ones they got this year. I think now take it with a grain of salt, but I think the Bears and I think the Texans and I think the Packers had the best rivalry uniforms that came out.
Great. I've got to check online. I haven't seen the Packers' new ones yet today, but I'm into this. I really like this, and I have to believe there's probably a lot of fans out there who are thinking to themselves,
"Oh yeah,
can we wear this for more than just one game?"
Only one game, but they can buy it and wear it to every game they want or wear it around town. Your fans can get all the wear out of it.
And that's exactly what the NFL is hoping for. That's why they announce these months in advance so that people buy them up, right?
Absolutely. I'm sure thousands are sold today.
All right. Let's talk about a rule change today that the Big Ten announced involving college seniors who have been drafted by the pros and could possibly come back to the NFL if they don't make the final cut of the team. Explain the rule to us as you understand it.
Yeah, it's funny. So that actually just went to a vote to the Big Ten commissioners today, and they actually just agreed to pass that unanimously just right now. So basically what it's saying is if a guy signs an NFL contract or a professional contract, you enter your name into the NFL draft, you don't withdraw your name from the NFL draft, you either don't get selected, but yet you still sign a contract with the pro team. What they're saying is if you do that, you're officially done. No more coming back to college to secure more NIL or one final, jog down memory lane and playing one more year. Big Ten said no way. Basically what we saw the 5-and-5 rule get implemented where athletes now have 5 years to compete. It used to be you got 4 years of eligibility to play, 5 years to attend school. Now it's 5-and-5. You get 5 years to play from the moment you step on campus. And so what that did was a lot of former players are suing the NCAA or trying to file these injunctions that said, hey, if I would have known this when I was still in school, I would have came back for a 5th year. So some of these coaches that like to bend the rules a little bit, Lane Kiffins of LSU, they're actively recruiting players that are on NFL rosters right now in training camp. And basically what those players are doing, so I think they've signed, it said 2 current NFL players, or should we say former NFL players now, and 1 former Boston Celtics player. So what they're basically doing is going to their agents or going to these NFL coaches and saying, hey, can you waive me? I actually don't want to be here. I want to go back to college for 1 more year. And it's like, it's a double-edged sword. It's like, if you're not going to have a long, successful career in the NFL and make a lot of money, go back to college and go make another $1 million. I'm not opposed to that. But what I don't like is you have guys that committed to your school, signed contracts, etc., have thought in their head they had a chance to start, play meaningful minutes from the time you signed them in January, getting ready for the first game here in 10 days. And then you bring in an NFL player to come play. And it's like 10 days before the first game. So it's like I'm torn. I see both sides to it. I'm not mad at the players going back and getting their money, but it just makes it harder for the young kids to compete because you look at the high school kids. It's hard to get a college scholarship now because they want experience, NIL transfers. And now you talk about bringing in former athletes. I'm sure this won't happen every year, but yeah, it's just crazy to think about this year.
Yeah, so what would this do then for the competitiveness between the different conferences, Ahmad?
I mean, it's not a ton of players that's coming back, and honestly, like one could say that the players that are coming back, they're getting cut from NFL teams, meaning they're not really. I won't say they're not really that good. They're good, but they're not like this household name that's going to impact the game by 14 points once they come back down to college. So, I mean, look, the SEC has always had a competitive edge until the recent NIL, current state of college athletics. You know, it's only a handful of teams that have accepted these players. So I don't think it's going to tip the scale one way or another. It still will be a lot of balance throughout college sports because of NIL. But, you know, LSU will certainly be better because of this, not worse.
All right, I want to steer us back to the Vikings here for a moment. Defense kind of on the podium here today because we have one more game, preseason game coming up this weekend. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Brian Flores is at the podium right now. So our photojournalist, Scott Keller, is shooting that. Don Mitchell and Jared Rose are getting players coming off the field. So it's a big week. I mean, honestly, today and tomorrow is the last time we may see some of these players wearing Vikings purple. Right. And for some of these guys, it may be the final time that they're wearing football uniform and pads. So it's a big week for these guys. So J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz continue to split second-team reps today. I don't know if that's because J.J.'s a little banged up and still recovering from that ankle injury this past week. So very curious to see what the reps will be this weekend. I don't have an answer for us just yet, but I have a couple fillers out there. We'll see if we can get that before Friday confirmed. But yeah, big game versus the Broncos. A lot of backups will play. And as I tell people all the time, when you enter training camp, 40 out of 53 spots are solidified. So there's about 45 players vying for 13 roster spots. So this game on Friday, it may not mean a lot to fans, but it means a lot to a lot of players.
A lot of those players, right? And they're going to be playing their hearts out on the field, for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Ahmad Hicks joining us from Vikings training camp in Eagan. Thanks so much, my friend. I appreciate you.
Not a problem. And I just want to say, Tim, that blazer looks fire on TV. Looks good. Looks good.
Thank you. Thank you. You're too kind. All right. We're coming up on 3 o'clock now here on a Tuesday afternoon. We're going to come back with more on Fox 9 All Day here in a moment. We're going to be talking with Erica Marasic about the possibility of some strong storms moving into the metro later on tonight. We'll see you in just a moment.
I'm sorry. No. I didn't. I'm putting you on the spot here, Tim. I'm sorry. We're just rolling here. But I just wanted to let anyone that's tuning in right now about that preseason game on Friday night. You can watch that on Fox 9, just on your telly, Fox 9, or you can watch it on the Fox Local app or on your apps on your telly. You can watch that game. We are streaming that on the Fox Local app and on your CTV app. So at home, if you've downloaded Fox Local on your telly, you can watch that game, and any information you need to find out how to watch that, you can head to fox9.com. Because we want everyone to be able to watch as much Vikings as they possibly can, Tim.
Our good friend from Australia telling us to watch it on the telly.
Oh, yeah, sorry, there you go. It's always good to get called out on my little telly, this Arvo, all the things.
We love you, Paul. We really do. Always the producer, right? You got to sneak in that airtime when it's going to be on our air and on the stream here in Fox Local. Okay, we're coming back with more here in a moment. This is a live look at Dolly Parton's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Hollywood as people are leaving flowers and tributes to Dolly Parton, who just about 2 hours ago was announced that she had passed at the age of 80. Also, flags are now flying at half-staff for Dolly, I believe here in Minnesota and perhaps across the country. A big loss announced here this afternoon by her nephew, who is the head of security for Dolly over the years, and family is distraught, as are millions of fans across the world. Erica Mrazek joins us now, and Erica, this is really a cross-generational kind of loss here, because I grew up with Dolly. You grew up with Dolly, right?
I did. The first time that I ever saw or heard of Dolly Parton was actually from the show Hannah Montana. Do you know that show?
Yes.
So
our daughters watched it.
Yeah, so I used to watch that, and Dolly Parton was one of Miley Cyrus's or Hannah Montana's relatives.
Right.
Which in real life, I believe that's her godmother or something.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time that I ever heard of Dolly Parton, and I love her.
Which underscores how many careers Dolly helped elevate and create over the years, right?
Yeah. Because Miley Cyrus now is like a major pop star.
Oh, huge.
And got some help from Dolly, and as well as other people.
Yeah. So, did your parents listen to Dolly? Because you got introduced to her, but I have to believe Mom and Dad did too.
Yeah, they listened to her a little bit. I feel like more my mom than my dad. But yeah, on the radio every once in a while, she'd be on. I'd hear her in the car, jam out a little bit. So, yeah. And then today I heard the news that she died from my friend. And I didn't believe it at first. I was like, and my friend was like, I need to fact check this, but my mom told me. And I was like, oh my gosh, and it was true.
See, this is very much, I kind of go back today to when Michael Jackson died. And I'll never forget where I was. I was doing a story in Minneapolis, and I was sharing a live truck back in the days when we had our microwave trucks. And I had to share a microwave truck with Bill Keller. And so we decided to do our live shots from the beach at Bademekasca, which was then Lake Calhoun, and was on the south side. Is that Thomas Beach? I think it is. But anyhow, so we were waiting to do our live shots at 5 o'clock, and the news broke at like mid-afternoon, like 3 in the afternoon. And there were people in their swimming suits on the beach. All of a sudden, it lit up, and people were oh my God, Michael Jackson's dead. And it just spread around the beach, and people were getting it on their then flip phones, right? And that's when I knew that our business had changed overnight, that you no longer had to wait until 5 or 6 o'clock to get the news, that people were getting it automatically on the phone and by word of mouth, especially something as big as this. And that's kind of how it's spread today organically. People have been finding out about it from their friends, texting, oh my goodness, Dolly is dead. Let me show this. I held this up here a little earlier. I have a daughter who is a National Park Service ranger in Mount Rainier, and no internet service where she's at, sketchy data signals as well. And this afternoon at 1:30, she texted us in all capital letters, not Dolly.
Aww.
Right? So that underscores how big this moment is for so many generations, across cultures, across generations, across continents, the influence of Dolly Parton.
Yeah, it also reminds me of when Jimmy Buffett died, because I feel like that had a huge impact, and this one kind of feels very similar. So
Parrot heads are across the world. Yeah, for sure. You know, some of the other headlines we're following here today, and our Paul Bloom is on this story for us today, and that's the federal court hearing going on down in Texas involving Christian Castro, who is the ICE agent accused of shooting a man in North Minneapolis during Operation Metro Surge that happened earlier this year, in fact, in January. And there's going to be a federal hearing this afternoon on that with a federal judge on extraditing him back to the state of Minnesota. So that's one of the other headlines we're following. Also, Mike Lindell, gubernatorial candidate Mike Lindell, the CEO of My Pillows, has been wanting a recount in the gubernatorial election, citing irregularities that he believes happened in the vote counting. He wants that recount, but he has to pay for it. Secretary of State says that it will cost $835,000, $25,000, and now Mike is withholding that payment as it moves forward, and he is saying that that what the Secretary of State's office has proposed is a, quote, unlawful recount process, and he's now filing a temporary restraining order. So that's another of the headlines that we're following here today. And then mail-in ballots, too. The Supreme Court has essentially allowed the president's order to go through, restricting who could get mail-in ballots for this year's election. This is a big deal here in Minnesota and across the state because so many people have adopted this way of voting. In 2024, we had more than 1.2 million votes in Minnesota that were cast either by mail-in or absentee ballots. Just a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, in the primary election here, an August election, 206,000 mail-in ballots were accepted by election officials across the state. So this is a story that we're going to be watching here as well. And then the Vikings made an announcement here today. Ahmad Hicks and I were just talking about it, and they've unveiled their rival's uniform that the team is going to wear against the big game against the Detroit Lions coming up on December 20th. Hang on here. I'm going to reach out a frame and just grab this so I can show it to you if you're just joining in. Here we go. So here's what the uniform itself will look like, and they're actually going back centuries, you know, with the arm piping, the braids on the shoulders, and the lettering that's on the front that you see outside U.S. Bank Stadium. This is Justin Jefferson's uniform. And here's what the helmets look like. I'm going to hold this up to the camera, okay? You can see the braiding and the stripe across. So, and a much darker color here too. A deep, deep purple with the uniforms. People are loving this so far. So it's been a lot of fun to talk about this. If you want to see the up-close images, we had them on fox9.com with our story there that you see right on the front page. Okay, how about we talk about some weather now? Erica Mrazek is here with us. We have some storms that are likely going to move in later on tonight. Tell us about the timeline here.
So it's going to be about 4 to 10 p.m. today, and I also have some graphics. We want to get those up. There is a low pressure center towards the north, so that is bringing what we call a triple point across the northern part of the region. So it's where you have all those three fronts meeting, and that's where you have the greatest amount of lift, and you have all these air masses meeting. So that is where you could see some strong to severe storms. So that front is going to go eastward throughout the evening, so it'll continue to push some showers and storms also east. But right now, there's really not too many. Around the Twin Cities metro, it's dry. All the central, southern part of the state, completely dry as well. But up towards the north, you do already have a couple showers and storms. They are not severe at the moment, and they're anywhere from about the Itasca County area up towards Canada, as well as a patch in the northwestern corner around Roseau County. And those are all going to go east throughout the next couple hours. So threats that we are looking at, mostly wind and hail, and then there's a very low-end threat for an isolated tornado that can't be ruled out. But overall, the likelihood is low, level 2 out of 5 risk, so not extremely likely, but the threat is still there. Pretty cloudy at the moment. Temperature 78, so pretty close to average, typically 79 this time of year. And then across the area, anywhere from the 70s to the 80s, even up to 82 and 87 and 88 out towards the south and the west. And then looking ahead, temperature's gonna stay in the 80s for the most part for highs the next couple of days. Storm chances this evening, so stay sky aware. We'll have all the details throughout the evening for you. And then by tomorrow, after the system rolls through, things start to look better. So going to be a couple chances for light showers and a drizzle at times, mostly middle of Wednesday and Wednesday afternoon. But then after that, it looks beautiful for Thursday, Friday. So first 2 days of the State Fair are going to be fantastic. It's low humidity, high temperatures, 80s, sunny skies. But then after that, it looks like the next chances for showers come back by Friday night. And then there could be the opportunity for a few of those throughout parts of the weekend.
You know, we have a sizable section of the state that's experiencing a severe drought right now. And I think a lot of people are thinking about, boy, will we get some soaking rains tonight? Or is this going to be more spotty?
More spotty. So most places, if you're in the Southwest, you likely won't see any rain. But for the most part, places could see a couple hundredths to a couple tenths of an inch. And then the most amount I've seen was perhaps up to a half of an inch way northeast. But most people will not be receiving that much.
All right, and we're going to have an update coming up tonight. Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock. You can get the latest on the forecast. And just so you know, the Fox 9 weather app is such an incredibly useful tool, especially in situations like tonight, because it will alert you in your neighborhood, wherever you are, as to specific watches and warnings that you have for your location. So it's good to download. You'll find it free wherever you get your apps. Thanks, Erica. Appreciate it. All right, coming up here in our next segment, we're going to talk with Minneapolis City Council member from Ward 3, Mike Rainville. He's holding a listening session tonight to talk about and get people's preferences of what they want to see in a new police chief here in Minneapolis. I see we got Mike on the line right now. We're going to talk to him when we come back here as Fox 9 All Day continues. Welcome back, everyone. Tim Blotz here on Fox 9 All Day this afternoon. Minneapolis is beginning a national search now to look for a brand new police chief after the resignation of Brian O'Hara earlier this year. And there's going to be a community listening session tonight, including one hosted by our next guest, 3rd Ward Council member Mike Rainville. And Mike, I want to thank you so much for joining us to talk about this tonight. This is going to take place at the Depot from 6:30 to 8 o'clock tonight. And you and fellow council member Elizabeth Schaffer are hosting this. What do you want people to come prepared to talk about here tonight? What do you want to hear?
Well, thank you for having me, Tim. This is so important that we get the word out to give public input. Tonight, Councilmember Schaefer and I are at the Depot Hotel. Tomorrow night, Councilmember Vita and Councilmember Warren are at Farview Park. And we have other events in all 5 precincts scheduled to get citizens' input. And we want to hear from the people what they want to see in a new chief of police. So that's why it's so important, and that's what I'm going to have my listening ears on tonight for.
Mike, you represent a lot of the downtown and the North Loop area. What are your constituents telling you at the moment? What are you hearing about what they want in a new chief?
So I'm hearing a number of things. Loud and clear is budget management. We have to have someone who can fiscally run a budget. You know, the police are, you know, depending on where the budget process ends up, perhaps $250 million, second only to our public works department. Public works is building streets, bridges, maintaining them, plowing, picking up the garbage. So it's very, very important that we do not run into fiscal problems with our police department. We did run into that with the last chief, and we're hoping to avoid that going forward.
So if you're hearing fiscal responsibility from some of your constituents, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And I bet fiscal responsibility is perhaps tops on your list too, but what are 2 other qualities that you're looking for?
Well, you know, of course, as a policymaker, someone who is involved in setting a $2 billion budget, that's what we spend in Minneapolis to provide service. You don't want any surprises. And by budgeting $4 million for this year's overtime and expecting about a $20 million cost for overtime, that's a big surprise. We don't want that. The other thing I'm going to be looking for is all candidates being equal. I am going to choose someone who is an internal candidate. There's plenty of really good seasoned police veterans on our force, and who have exhibited great leadership potential. And I'm hoping that one of them will step up, just like interim Chief Peterson did. So I'm looking for that strong internal candidate. And this whole idea of continuing the reform process to turn this police department around and to be from a police department in disarray in 2020 to really what it is now, which is the most reform-minded police department in the United States. They've changed more than anybody else. And I want to continue that momentum, which will build community trust.
Mike, you anticipated one of my questions there, and that would be about internal candidates. How many are you hearing could throw their names into the hat?
Well, I'm hearing as few as 3 or 4, or if not 8 or 9. You know, I'm a big supporter of the police. I love them dearly. And there isn't a single police officer who doesn't think they could be the chief of police. If you ask the 635 sworn officers, every one of them would tell you, Tim, I could be the chief.
You know, it's funny. Newsrooms are the same way, Michael. Everyone thinks they could be a better news director. I am not one of them. That's one job I've never, ever wanted in this business. But yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying there. Mike, how difficult will it be, do you think, to get the entire council to agree on whoever the mayor ends up appointing? Because there's not a lot of an agreement on things these days in the city council.
Yeah, it gets a little quiet walking down the hallways by our office at times, but I think this is one subject where all of us are in agreement. We need a really good chief of police in order to keep this momentum going forward. Chief O'Hara started out really well. He did a lot of great things. Things didn't work out so good. But I don't see a lot of controversy coming from the council once that candidate has been chosen. Now, they'll be vetted and there'll be a lot of tough questions asked, but I'm the eternal optimist.
Yeah,
I think we're going to come together and unite.
There's been a lot of emphasis here in the past couple of years, Mike, on retention and recruitment for the Minneapolis police force. How important will that be as you start interviewing and looking at some of the candidates, particularly the one whoever the mayor selects?
So two questions there. I'll start with the retention. Very, very important to keep the knowledge that we have right now. Uh, we have a police force of roughly 630, 635. 130 of them are eligible to retire. So back under President Clinton, a lot of federal dollars came to cities to hire extra policing. That was 30 years ago. They're all in that retirement phase and are eligible. And we certainly want to keep their knowledge longer. Respect the right of anybody to retire, but want to have that chief that can inspire people to stay that extra year or two, maybe 3 years, and help train in the younger lieutenants and sergeants and so forth. So that's very important in a new chief. And then recruiting. And again, I'll go back to Chief O'Hara. He was a dynamic recruiter and people wanted to come and join the force. We have to keep that momentum going as well.
So, Mike, when Mayor Fry brings his nominee to the city council, and we're expecting that sometime in either October or November is what we're hearing, and I think that's probably what you're hearing too. What's it going to take for you to get to a yes on whoever that person is?
Well, again, we're going to go through that checklist that I just mentioned, the ability to manage a budget, hopefully an internal candidate. That's very important to me. Mm-hmm. I think we're ready to have someone step right in. And the ability to keep these reforms going, to build that community trust. That's all. That's the top of my checklist right there, Tim.
Well, Mike, ultimately this is going to be the mayor's decision. So anyone watching this afternoon thinking about whether they should come to the listening session tonight, wondering if their voice will be heard, what do you suggest to them? What do you say?
I would say, please come tonight, come tomorrow. The following weeks, there'll be other opportunities. We're going to each of the 5 precincts, so it'll be close to your house. And we really, really value input from our citizens. That is just so important that we have them become involved and feel part of this process as we continue our police reforms and continue rebuilding our police department.
Mike, can you tell us how this is going to be run tonight? If people show up, what will happen? And is there going to be a speakers list? How long are people going to get a chance to talk? Can you kind of tell us about the format?
Yeah, very casual format. I believe Commissioner Barnett will run that, the commissioner of our Department of Community Safety. And we'll right away, it's all about taking questions from the crowd. So we'll have some microphones in the crowd so everybody can hear, and I'll hope to have this great, dynamic, respectful discussion, hearing from the people. It's all about the citizens tonight. It's not about anything we're trying to force feed someone. We want honest input.
Mike, of course, Bill Peterson right now is the interim chief, and he has been public about saying that, no, he does not want the permanent job. But give us an assessment so far. How's he doing, and is there any pressure being put on him to change his mind?
Well, I'm sure there's pressure, but his priorities are right in line. He has young sons, 12, 14. It's very important for him to help mentor them into adulthood, watch them grow up. So I appreciate that, admire that dedication to his family. And I think he set the tone for moving forward. He's made some adjustments in the department. And, if you think about how well the police performed this weekend, we had that crazy guy come in from out on the East Coast trying to raise heck here in front of City Hall, drove up on the sidewalk, provoked the anti-demonstrators. It was a big fist fight in front of City Hall. Who knows if someone could have got run over by a truck. Our police got in there right away, separated everybody, wisely allowed those trucks to drive away, and then arrested the people in the trucks with the help of the State Patrol and even the Bloomington police, showing that cooperation, that law enforcement needs to work together. That was done in a safe manner. It was done maybe not to the pleasure of everybody, but it proved very effective. There are some activists that think the police should not even allowed him to come into the city, but that, of course, is impossible in the United States of America. You can't restrict people's movement.
All right.
But I thought our chief did a really good job directing his force this week. And I can't say enough about Bill Peterson. He was the precinct commander, the first precinct in downtown. I've had the chance to ride with him in the squad car late at night. In fact, Tim, if you ever want to see something, watch the bars close at 2:30 in the morning in downtown Minneapolis in the front seat of a squad car.
It can be a little chaotic, can't it, Mike?
It's a whole different world than what you and I are used to, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Mike Rainville, hey, thanks for joining us. I want to give you one more opportunity to say where your listening session is tonight and why people should show up.
Sure. The Depot Hotel, which is on the corner of Washington Avenue South and South 3rd Avenue, right in downtown, beautiful old restored railroad station. And this is the chance to be part of this process. Please help us understand what is important moving forward. As a decision maker, I and all my colleagues value the input from our citizens. So please come down if you can. And tomorrow night is at Farview Park on 26th Avenue in Lindale North. And that again will be hosted by Councilmember Vita and Councilmember Warren.
All right. Mike Rainville, Ward 3 Council Member, thanks so much for joining us. So kind of you to join us here this afternoon to talk about this process.
Okay, thanks, Tim, for having me.
All right, you take care now. Well, 3:29 now here the time. We're continuing to follow really what is a worldwide story here this afternoon in the death of Dolly Parton at the age of 80 years old. We're going to talk more about her legacy coming up and leave you with, I believe we have some video of the memorials that are just really now piling up on her star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Hollywood as everyone comes out to remember everything that she has done for humanity. My goodness, she's so much more than a singer-songwriter. She's been a philanthropist and businesswoman and somebody who's just inspired so many generations. We're coming back with more here in a moment on Fox 9 All Day. right. How about we have some fun here for the next couple of minutes? A simple neighborhood lemonade stand in Carver has turned into a 6-year tradition of giving back. By this family, my goodness, we're joined by Dash and Jace, along with their mom, Erin. You guys started a lemonade stand a long time ago, didn't you? Right? Yeah, so tell us about it.
I started it to help raise money for our playground, to get more equipment, and
how long ago was that? And by the way, this is Dash, right? And his brother is Jace, right along with him. Yeah. So you started this back when? Do you recall?
when Jace was 3 and I was 6.
Oh my goodness, Jace, you were that young? Mm-hmm. So what led you to start to do this?
Because we just wanted to raise some money for our playground and set up a lemonade stand.
So was the playground kind of in rough shape at the time? You were trying to, add some more rides or something to it, some more fun stuff?
Yeah, we went to this park in Maple Grove and we found a bunch of cool playground equipment that we didn't have here. And we had fun there. So we wanted to get some for here.
Oh my goodness. Erin, mother, you had to think, oh, come on, really? This is what you want to do?
Yeah, as soon as they had the idea, we said, let's figure out the easiest, best way to do it. And, we never thought that we would be raising as much money as we are at this point.
So how much did you raise that first year?
I think that first year we raised around $150 to $200.
That's a good chunk of change, right?
Yeah, for a lemonade stand in a little tiny town,
that's
bad.
enough to get started. and then over years, it kind of evolved into what? It started off with playground equipment, and then you figured, well, hey, we can keep this going, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So what came next?
I think then we... it was a long time ago. I can't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did the library.
Right. We did the library in Chaska, right?
Yep.
And all of these years later, now you're helping out your classmates. So what are you doing and what are you raising the money for this year?
The Carver Black Sox, our local baseball team, and our favorite homeschool class place, the Lowry Nature Center.
Oh my goodness, that's great. And Jace, you're wearing one of the t-shirts, right? So stand up, show it off to us. There you go. And that's the baseball cap, I take it too. So have you had your lemonade stands yet, or are you still selling lemonade?
Our lemonade stand is this Friday.
Great. So tell us where.
At our house, 417 High Street, Carver, Minnesota.
All right. And how much are you intending to sell?
As much as we can, hopefully all of the lemonade.
Okay, so a good business person always has a sales goal. Do you have a goal that you're trying to make and reach?
Not really, but I kind of hoping around 800.
That's a pretty good goal, right? That's a really good goal. So Mom, you have to help out in all of this.
Sure.
So, and so much of what they're learning is more about giving back. They're learning entrepreneurship skills too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you come from a business background yourself?
No, not at all. And my family's basically all in education. And when we decided to homeschool these kids, we were always looking for opportunities to grow in different ways. And so this has just been a really important tradition to us. For the community, but also for them and what they're going to grow with us as well.
Yeah. All right. So, and this is the lemonade. You brought some in. We
Sure
don't have any
did.
glasses because I was going to sample some. We got some pictures up here too. So tell us where this picture is at. And was this last year's stand?
That was the first year. Yeah, that's 6 and 3 right there. Ages 6 and 3. So it was our very first ever lemonade stand. Just a little table and some fun chairs and a lot of hot sun.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. So Erin, as a parent, what's it been like now teaching your kids about this experience over the years and how rewarding it's been for you to see them growing into young men already who are thinking about those around them?
Yeah, it's been incredibly important for us, like I said, for a variety of reasons. But seeing the two of them sit down and think each year, each summer, about who we want to do this for and the reasons why that we want to do these for and the conversations that have that brings up. And then as well as, when we're able to go and hand off the little baggie full of, coins and dollars and all of that to the organizations, and just to see how appreciative every single organization's been to date.
Oh my goodness. So you don't write a check.
We don't.
You take the cash.
That's kind of been our
right?
tradition, and we
Yeah.
always ask everyone, "Are you okay
Pennies
with
and
that?"
all.
We'll take anything. We'll take any donation whatsoever. Pennies, you name it.
Oh, there's, you can see one of the tip jars right there for everyone contributing. And it adds up really fast too, right? And I think, for most people, we had a little lemonade stand in our neighborhood just a couple of weeks ago. So of course you're going to pull over, right? You cannot drive past without stopping and pulling over and helping out the kids in whatever cause and whatever they want to do, because you want to contribute to that. And because it's not just a sense of giving back to the community and your neighbors, but helping the younger generation too build some business skills along the way. It's so important.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us again where it's going to be this week, guys, so people can come buy some lemonade.
417 High Street, Carver.
417 High Street in Carver. And you're going to have the same setup? Can't miss you?
Yep.
It's even growing and growing. We even have a tent now, so we're not quite in the baked hot sun.
All right. Well, thank you. Dash, Jace, Aaron, you guys are fabulous.
Thank you.
All our best to you this week with your lemonade stand, okay?
Thank you very much for having us.
I hope you
Thank
sell
you.
a ton of it.
Thank you. We do too.
Yeah, great. All right, coming up on 341 now here on a Tuesday afternoon. We've got a lot more coming back on Fox 9 all day here this afternoon. welcome you back here to Fox 9 All Day, 3:44 now the time on a Tuesday afternoon. One of the blessings of this format here on our All Day program is we get to talk to so many different people, as you just saw with Josh and Jace and their lemonade stand coming up. Mike Rainville talking about the listening sessions later tonight that's going to happen for getting community feedback on a new Minneapolis police chief, and even the death of Dolly Parton, talking to the folks at K102 about what their listeners are remembering about Dolly Parton. One of the great conversations we had earlier today and all day had to do with food safety, and we had an expert in from the University Extension talking about some of the headlines that we've seen this summer and heck, recently in the past couple of weeks about food safety. Our Simone Woolridge had that wonderful conversation and interview this morning. We want to replay that for you right now. Give it a listen.
It has really been a troubling summer when it comes to food safety. I think a lot of people could agree with that. A number of outbreaks and recalls, everything from our lettuce to jalapenos to blueberries, just the whole nine. And it has really just shaken our confidence in what we can and cannot eat. So we wanted to get someone on the line to talk about, what is happening? What can we eat at this point? So joining us now is food safety extension educator from the University of Minnesota, Autumn Stoll. Autumn, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, let's just start here. I feel like the amount of food recalls, sometimes you just feel like you're hearing more about things because it's just like in the news cycle so much, but they have been happening for a while. So I'm curious, in this sort of situation, the amount of food recalls we are seeing, is this normal, or are we just hearing about it more now because it's in the spotlight at this point?
That is a very good question. It is hard to tell right now. We don't have, the full picture. I would say that a lot of it is just highlighted in the media. There's a lot of attention. Consumers are concerned, and for good reason. People care about their health. And so I think that with a lot of concern and a lot of interest with consumers, it is highlighted in the media. And so right now it's hard to tell, are there more recalls happening? Are there more foodborne illness outbreaks? Or are people just more aware? And is there more communication? Is there more information being spread in the media to raise awareness? So we can't really pinpoint exactly what is going on. I will note that with the cyclospora outbreak, I think that really sort of set off a lot of that interest. And there are more cases of cyclospora this year, but it's hard to tell if there's actually more this year or if there's more confirmed cases, if that makes sense. So it's hard to know because you don't get a confirmed case until you go to the doctor, get tested, and have that confirmed sample. And it could just be sort of a post-COVID awareness. People are more willing to go to the doctor, get tested. And so that could be one of the reasons.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, because I feel like if you hear about maybe what the symptoms are, right? And maybe you had lettuce or something like that, then you're like, wait, okay, maybe I have some of these same symptoms. Should I be heading to a doctor? And then that's when we're seeing more cases. So that does make sense. And since you did mention cyclospora, I feel like just a general question people might be asking is it safe to eat a salad at this point?
That is a very good question. And I will say, generally speaking, I can't confirm safety of everything, but they have recalled the contaminated product. And so we're still hearing about cases, and it's because it takes a while to get that confirmed positive case. So we're still hearing the number increasing, but they've already pulled all of the recalled products from the lines. And so we're still hearing about it. And that's just because we're still getting those lab results. I want to give people the confidence to eat fruits and vegetables and to go out there and to, have trust in our food supply chain. Be aware of recalls, and if you happen to have a product that is recalled, that was a part of the recall, follow the instructions, discard it, don't eat it, but don't be afraid to eat fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, and I wanted to throw out some of the recent recalls that, I just looked at in the last half hour. Tomato bisque soup, pepper jalapenos you mentioned, the lettuce, of course, fruit bars, so many things under that category. But then I also think when we look at the outbreaks and what has been recalled lately, lettuce, jalapenos, cilantro, those sorts of things, leafy greens, right, seems to be the focus of some of these foodborne illnesses. Is that true? And if so, why?
What tends to happen with our leafy greens, and I know sprouts is also a topic, is we don't cook them. And so they don't get that heat treatment, which a lot of other produce might get. Like if you think about bell peppers, we'll snack on them, but oftentimes they're cooked in foods. But when we have leafy greens, sprouts, cilantro, they're not cooked. And so if there happens to be a contamination, it's just more likely to cause foodborne illness.
So then when we do look at the growth process, are there foods that are more riskier for recalls than others?
That is a really good question. Sprouts. Sprouts are one of those foods that I love to eat, but even I choose to be mindful of my consumption of sprouts. They're grown in warm, moist environments, very nutrient rich, which is perfect for sprout growth, but also fabulous for the growth of bacteria. So sprouts, there's actually a recommendation out there for folks who are really young, old, immunocompromised, and pregnant to avoid eating sprouts altogether. My advice would be if you love sprouts and you're concerned, you can cook them.
Okay, so cooking makes it a little bit better. Kills some of the bacteria, right?
Yeah, so in general, 165 degrees Fahrenheit will cover your bases from Cyclospora to Listeria, Salmonella, E. coli. That's a sort of the best kill step that you can do at home to make your food safe is to cook it.
Is there anything that we should be buying as far as how to check things at home when you think of maybe temperature-wise, when you talk about salmonella and things like that? Like, are there any items that people at home could buy to make them at least feel a little better in their mind about what they're eating?
Yeah, absolutely. A food thermometer is fantastic. I always recommend using a food thermometer to check. There's different kinds, some with like little probes that you can insert into things, and I recommend that over one of the really like bulky ones so you can put it into smaller pieces just to make sure you're getting things cooked all the way through because you cannot eyeball temperature. So a thermometer is your best bet. And then also your refrigerator. Having a refrigerator at the appropriate temperature, so you're going to want it at least below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, typically around 35 to 38. That won't kill bacteria, but it will slow or stop the growth of bacteria like Salmonella and E. coli.
Okay, Autumn, I just literally circled that on my page so I can make sure that my refrigerator is below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I think we do have a viewer. We have been asking if anyone had any questions to potentially ask you. I think we do have a question, and let's read this one. This is from Emmy. So she says, for those of us who enjoy being at the fair for hours, what are some tips for those of us who plan to store or save our leftovers? That's a good question as we talk about the fair approaching this week.
That is a fantastic question and very appropriate for summer because I feel like we're always at picnics, family gatherings, things where there's just food out. And the general rule of thumb is we call it ready to eat food, but these are foods like baked goods, like baked foods like pastas, hot dogs, things that you think like go in the refrigerator. If they're out for more than 2 hours, they should get thrown out. It's the like 2-hour rule. And then there's a special rule where if it's actually over 90 degrees out, so on really hot days, it's a 1-hour rule. So just being really mindful that if you don't eat your leftovers in time, it's best. I know we hate food waste and I struggle with this, but you're best off tossing it if you can't eat it in time.
Does it apply to if you're in your home and you have food sitting out that may have been sitting out for, I don't know, hours? Is there a, if it's 5 hours, should we throw it out? Is there a sort of threshold there too?
I would stick to the 2-hour rule.
2 hour,
So if you're having a family gathering and you've got I can only think of Thanksgiving food right now, but you've got like green bean casserole out, the turkey, all of that sitting out. Make sure when everyone's, prepared their plates, maybe once they've gotten the seconds, put it in the fridge. Or you can keep it warm in the oven. So you've got a couple options, but avoid keeping that food out. Nutrient-rich food in kind of warm environments is a perfect environment for bacteria.
Okay. Ooh, yeah, we don't want that. All right, Autumn, I think we have, as we're running out of time here, we have one more question that we wanted to get in here. This one from Michael. Michael says, I know some of the food recalls have to do with pesticides and post-harvest treatments for freshness. Is anything being done for this?
You know, that is a really good question. As a food safety extension educator, I am more on the pathogen side of things, but I will say that a lot of these recalls that are happening with this, it's due to internal testing. So that means they discovered that there was an increased level of pesticides or whatever they were working with, whatever chemicals, and so they decided to pull it from the public. And so a lot of it is more precautionary, but I cannot speak to what is being done about that, what like protocols are set in place, because that's more on the like agriculture, pre-harvest, post-harvest side of things.
Got it. Okay. Well, we appreciate your time. You've shared a lot of good information with us as far as, things that we can start implementing at home, things that we can start utilizing just to sort of ease our minds too when we're seeing more and more of these recalls. So Autumn Stoll, we appreciate your time from the University of Minnesota. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. Have a wonderful day.
What a great segment. Every once in a while in this business, you interview people who are not only extremely knowledgeable about their subject category, but also have just intoxicatingly explosive personalities that just draw you in and can explain things in ways that make you pay attention and enjoy it. And Autumn Stoll is one of those people. In television journalism, she's the kind of interview we all pray to get on a regular basis. And my goodness, she just knocks it out of the park every time we've talked to her. So, Autumn, we deeply appreciate you for joining us here in Fox 9 All Day today. We've got a lot to talk about here this afternoon. Of course, the big international story is the passing of Dolly Parton. God bless her soul, right? 80 years old. And as soon as word started spreading throughout the newsroom here this afternoon, we had one of our web specialists who does all of our digital coordination. She saw it first and she just gasped out loud. She said, "Oh, Dolly's dead." And that's all it took. And the entire newsroom just went, "Oh, I can't believe it," right? So it's just one of those cultural moments that we can all share together because I don't care how old you are. We've always known Dolly Parton, and she's just been a part of our culture for so long, right? And so a lot of people have many fond memories of Dolly Parton and what she's contributed to our culture and society over the years. And so we're going to talk more about Dolly coming up in our next segment here as we bring in Paul Milgate, our producer, who's got some wonderful stories from Australia that absolutely illustrate the international star and pull that she had across generations, across boundaries, across continents, and how she was able to make those strong connections, human connections with people. You're watching Fox 9 All Day. We'll be back with more here in a moment. Well, welcome back, everyone. Straight up 4 o'clock here on a Tuesday afternoon on Fox 9 All Day. My name is Tim Blotz. I'm filling in for Courtney Godfrey, who classes up this studio here. We call it our Fox 9 studio at the Twin Cities Broadcast Center. I'm going to be filling in for Courtney today and tomorrow. So thank you for welcoming us into your office or your home or your mobile device or however you're streaming us here this afternoon. We're grateful that you could join us. So much to talk about here today, but really the only thing that matters is the passing of Dolly Parton. Of course, you've probably heard this by now. It spread like wildfire within the past couple of hours because she was so well known and so universally loved. In fact, what you're looking at right now is the tributes and the flowers and the memorials that are being left at her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And Dolly was a star in every sense of the term that it describes. My goodness, she was just a cross-generational talent and star. I was talking to Paul Milgate and others around the studio here this morning. I remember my first introduction to Dolly Parton was really watching The Tonight Show as a kid when Mom and Dad would have on Johnny Carson, and she was a frequent guest on the old Carson's show because he loved her and saw the entertainment value and how she could connect with people. And almost every time she appeared on Carson, she always brought a guitar and always sang a song and always made people laugh and always made people fall in love with Dolly. What a personality she was and how much she's given back over the years. The word broke this afternoon, and it was actually released by her family. In fact, her nephew, who serves as head of security for Dolly, and they broke the news on social media this afternoon. I want to replay that family announcement for you right now.
Hey everyone, my name is Brian Seaver, son of Cassie Parton, and I'm representing the Parton and Owens family today, announcing the passing of my Aunt Dolly Rebecca Parton Dean, sister, sis, Aunt Granny to one generation and Gigi to the next. This video announcement is something Dolly asked of me years ago, before I fully absorbed it as a future reality. As her head of security for more than 2 decades, a role my father Larry held before me, I have imagined the heaviness of this moment, but haven't truly felt it until now. It is an honor that is mixed with absolute pride and great sadness. But sadness lies with us, not with Dolly. Dolly has lived in the light and is in the arms of Jesus, surely met by Carl, her parents, and countless others who have watched her and longed for her to meet them in the heavens. I first went on the road with Dolly as a kid, getting a taste of the road life in the early 1980s. Dolly opened doors not just for me, but for her entire family to reach the potential we didn't even know was possible. Dolly also opened doors for generations of singers, songwriters, musicians, and dreamers from every walk of life and across every continent. By her example, we believed that anything was possible. She never saw a door she couldn't open, and the doors she opened made and changed history. My family and I have shared a lifetime of beautiful memories with Dolly, but so have you. She has always been on your television, your record player, your CD, and on your phone playlist, becoming an extended part of your family, whether you liked it or not. Our family and the team she has entrusted with her legacy will work diligently to ensure her spirit will live with us forever. Dolly was a farmer, just like her daddy. He farmed the soil, she farmed songs and happiness. Dolly called me and said she wants to rest in a beautiful bed of plush cotton because after a life wearing heavy rhinestones, she finally deserves to be comfortable and have some rest. Rest in peace, Aunt Dolly, Aunt Granny, Gigi. May God bless Dolly Parton, and may God bless you all. She will always love you.
And there you have it, the announcement from Dolly Parton's family and her passing today at 80 years old. I think a lot of us fans, we're dreading this day, but yet we kind of knew it's been coming because it's been telegraphed now here recently. The fans knew that she had been going through some tough times. She recently shared that she was dealing with some dizziness and dehydration, which forced her to cancel some public appearances on doctor's orders. Of course, her sister made a somewhat cryptic social media account, posting here earlier this year, asking people to keep her sister in her prayers. And she's been very open about her own health and putting things on hold while she was caring for her husband, who also passed within the last year. She leaves behind an unmatched legacy of music spanning generations. She wrote so many songs that everyone will remember, from Jolene, right? That was just a huge hit back in the 70s, 9 to 5. And then she also wrote so many songs for other artists, including Whitney Houston. I Will Always Love You. And Whitney that made Whitney Houston a star. And all because of Dolly Parton's efforts all along the way. I want to bring in our producer, Paul Milgate, because, Paul, you really demonstrate how Dolly was a cross-generational talent. She was a cross-continental talent. You grew up following Dolly even in Australia.
Yeah, all the way over in Australia and in my tiny little hometown of Narromine, home of the Dolly Parton Festival. But the one story that I wanted to share with you, Tim, it's one of my greatest regrets in life, and it actually does involve Dolly Parton. She did a tour in Australia years ago now, and the consummate traveling country music star, she traveled across Australia in this giant tour bus, this Dolly bus, and the news covered it. The news covered it all the time, seeing this bus just traveling around Australia.
Because how could you miss it, right?
How could you miss this rhinestone-encrusted bus traveling through the outback? But I happened to be in Perth, which is, for those of you that don't really know that much geography of Australia, is the opposite side of Australia to Sydney. I was in Perth for work, and Dolly was in town, and there were last-minute tickets available, and I didn't buy one, Tim.
No!
I didn't buy one. I was too tired at the end of the workday, and as I sit here today, 10 years later, going...
And now you regret it.
That is a regret in my life, that I didn't buy those tickets to go and see Dolly Parton, because unfortunately, as of today, that chance has been taken away.
And she was huge in Australia.
Massive star, yeah. An incredible icon. One of those people that's like, just somehow rises above everything else, and it'll just be remembered as this icon.
Right. Well, her nephew talked about how she was, tired of carrying around all the rhinestones. Upon reflection, yes, the rhinestones, the wigs, the costumes, the bright colors that she wore, those were all Dolly's trademark. But when you get right down to it, her brand was always happiness and compassion. And I think that's why so many people really identified with Dolly and why they loved her so much.
Yeah, she was just a joy. And you felt like you knew her, even if you never met her. She sort of leapt through the screen like you got to know her. So.
And her songwriting, my goodness, she wrote so many songs for so many artists over the years too.
Yeah. You know who else leaps through the screen? Erica Mrazek.
Yes,
I always
she
like
does.
to do it. It's a personal little thing that I do. I try to have a really fun segue from one thing to the next. Sparkle, talk about joy jumping through the screen. Erica Mrazek.
Erica Mrazek, our meteorologist, and this is a timely discussion as well, because we're kind of in the bullseye, at least some portions of the state here, for some potentially strong weather here tonight, and we need to talk about that. So let's go to Erica. She's in the Weather Center right now, talking about the threat of some weather here tonight, and we're kind of entering the time zone for it right now, aren't we, Erica?
Hey, Tim, we are. So the time zone 4 to 10 today. So about 10 minutes into that. And this threat's not for everybody. It's mostly in the northeastern part of the state. And there is a watch out and one warning. So it's starting to get going here on your afternoon. So area of low pressure towards the north, that's bringing a cold front into some humid and warm air. So that's why you have that storm threat throughout the rest of your Tuesday. So severe thunderstorm watch for northeast Minnesota. That does not include the metro or anywhere west or south. But within this watch, we already have one warning. It's in the central to southern part of St. Louis County, headed towards the east, the warned storm. And then with this, it's a low end in terms of severity, in terms of threats. It's hail of about the size of a quarter possible and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So watch out for that in St. Louis County. Some other storms popping up too, but the other ones aren't severe. And then I also want to look at another little pocket out towards the west. This is not within the watch box, and I don't expect it to turn severe, but just wanted to point out that there are a couple showers and possibly some rumblers in northwest Minnesota too. But other than that, it's dry for everywhere else. So here in the Twin Cities Metro, no rain, no storms, but there are a good amount of clouds. Temperatures today reached highs right around seasonable for the end of August at 79 degrees this afternoon. Morning lows started off today in the 60s. Then at the moment, temperatures are mostly 70s to 80s, but you do have a 90 over in Windham, so definitely warmer towards the south and the west. Currently 79 here in the Twin Cities Metro. You have some low 70s towards the north, 73 Hibbing and 72 for International Falls. So overall, there's a southwest breeze, so you have that bringing in some higher dew points. So it's definitely more of a humid day compared to yesterday, which makes the atmosphere a little bit more juicy for some of those storms up towards the north and the east. So next few hours, stay sky where we'll be here throughout in the entire evening. And then after you get to a little bit after sunset, things start to quiet down. So the overnight will be clear. Tomorrow, really a lot better, but there is still the chance for a couple isolated showers and a drizzle for the middle of the day on Wednesday. And then after that, State Fair, that's 2 days away. So Thursday and Friday, the first 2 days are looking gorgeous for some State Fair weather. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be warm. Dew points are going to stay low, so it's warm but not humid. So a really nice start Thursday, Friday, before the chance for a couple showers and some rumbles of thunder come back by Friday night and stick around throughout parts of the weekend, Tim. So that's the look at the rest of this week.
You know, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, if we can get through the next 12 hours or so, I think we'll be pretty good.
I think we will be too.
Yeah, Erica Mrazek joining us from the Weather Center here tonight. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk to our Paul Bloom about the federal court hearing taking place in Texas today regarding Christian Castro, the ICE agent who's accused of shooting a man in North Minneapolis during Operation Metro Surge that happened back in January. We're going to talk about what took place today, when we expect the judge's ruling to actually come on down. You're watching Fox 9 all day here this afternoon on Fox Local. We'll be back with more here in a moment. here along with Paul Bloom. It's 4:15 now on a Tuesday afternoon. You're watching the live stream here on Fox All Day here, streaming on Fox Local. We're grateful you could be with us here. One of the top stories of the day has state-to-state implications here, and of course that's the extradition hearing taking place in Texas today in federal court for Christian Castro, and he's the ICE agent now wanted by the state of Minnesota to answer to the shooting of a man in North Minneapolis during Operation Metro Surge that happened back in January. Paul, you've been kind of keeping an eye on what took place in federal court today. I think we first need to explain what this hearing was all about.
Right. So, Christian Castro, it can be a mouthful. He's been held in custody down in Texas, a border town jail in Brownsville. And he was arrested because of a nationwide warrant after the Hennepin County Attorney's Office charged him with a couple counts of assault for the shooting. Remember, this is the one where the ICE agents alleged to have shot into the house from outside in pursuit of perhaps two, at least one, or maybe
this
two.
is the case, this will refresh everyone's memory. This is the case where Department of Homeland Security initially said that the people were fighting the ICE agents with snow shovels.
With a snow shovel and a broomstick.
And a broomstick.
But what would happen, and the fleeing immigrants were charged initially, if you may remember, by the feds with their own crimes. But the case would quickly fall apart. Surveillance video from the city of Minneapolis captured the incident. And it was dark out, but we've shown that video several times, or quite a bit on our own newscast. But it does not. I mean, it shows a very brief encounter,
and it did not match the narrative coming from DHS.
So Hennepin County eventually charged that agent with the shooting. So a couple different counts of assault. Shooting into the home, the bullet stopping at like the kid's bedroom. The house was filled with family members. So the charges of assault as well as the lying and reporting a crime. Like he was busted for that, and he faced charges. So about 3 months ago, he's arrested down in Texas thanks to a nationwide warrant. He's sitting in jail in Texas, a fugitive warrant without extradition. You get 90 days to move somebody. We're at day 88. Tomorrow's day 89, Thursday's day 90, and if nothing changes, he's out on Thursday.
Tickety-tock.
So tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. So Minnesota has basically filed, not only do they want him back, and it takes the governor's actions in Texas to sign the extradition warrant and send him to Minnesota. The Governor Abbott, Republican governor down there, has not been willing to do that. So at the very least, Minnesota, as part of their lawsuit, a two-pronged approach, is to get an emergency restraining order to hold Castro until the extradition portion of the case can be worked out. So today was exclusively focused on that restraining order. And the judge heard arguments from both sides. I've seen the paperwork. We didn't go down to Brownsville today, several hours south of Houston, but we've got reports from the courtroom. It lasted just over an hour. The judge took arguments from both sides. He did not issue any ruling. He said maybe as soon as tomorrow. A reporter who was in the courtroom who I was messaging with said that it sounded like the judge was not 100% inclined to make an order that would keep him in custody, like he left open the door, that no promises, as if to maybe prepare for the potential. I don't want to read between the lines because, the reporter was in the courtroom, but, we were just messaging. But perhaps an order as soon as tomorrow. And will this judge sign the paperwork that will keep him in custody or not? What's fascinating about the case is the argument the Texas governor is making. Not only is he taking shots at Governor Tim Walz for unrelated fraud allegations and just political kind of back and forth, but he is questioning whether or not Christian Castro, by definition, is a fugitive of the law, basically because he argues that, this is a guy who was in the course of duties, Operation Metro Surge. He was sent to Minnesota. ICE moved him back to Texas, where he was based. This is not a guy who's on the run, if you will, not a legally defined fugitive, which would then make the extradition legal arguments from there. And so Governor Abbott is asking for more time. His Secretary of State is supposedly looking into the legal question: is Castro by definition a fugitive and thus subjected to the rules of extradition? Governor Abbott just asking for more time. He says, what does it matter if I make it within 90 days? So be it. If the agent walks out, well, Minnesota can get him some other time. Minnesota wants Castro while he's in custody. Minnesota officials up here are extremely worried that he has strong ties, especially to a woman, his lover in Mexico.
And that's the subplot here.
Right,
They're
and
worried
they don't.
that he could cross the border.
Yeah, if he gets out, their concern is, and they've been monitoring his phone calls where he's talking about marrying the woman, that he has maybe a Jeep down there, a car, wants to buy property, has a ring for her, that they think if he walks out that door, and we have a colleague who used to work right along the border who says it's literally a 5-minute walk from this jail into Mexico, and would we ever see him again?
So we're still waiting for the judge's order. So
Yes.
that will be news perhaps by Thursday, if that comes out.
Perhaps by Thursday, the judge saying he could have an order on the docket by tomorrow, at least to address the issue of can he be held longer than the 90 days. Otherwise, he will be released.
And to give our viewers a little bit of context into the hearing here today, you and I have been in federal court for a lot of different cases and hearings in our careers. An hour in federal court before a federal judge for a matter like this is kind of a long time, right? I mean, usually these hearings are a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
But to take an hour on this subject really kind of reflects the seriousness of this particular issue.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. Both sides have obviously Minnesota's initial lawsuit, Texas governor came back with like a 39-page response where he argued about whether or not, like I said, by definition is Christian Castro a fugitive. He also made the point that between state to state conflicts, that Minnesota has taken this to the wrong jurisdiction, that it's not U.S. District Court, but rather the United States Supreme Court that needs to decide rulings. So they make an argument about legal jurisdiction, but that was a 39-page response. And then Minnesota came back with another response in writing today calling Governor Abbott's legal team's approach here to basically throwing the kitchen sink and trying to come up with every excuse why not to extradite the guy. So there's a lot of arguments on paper is what I'm getting at. So perhaps over that hour, that judge really fleshed out the arguments. Obviously, you have two major state government legal teams. Minnesota would have sent a team down there today. I know they have local counsel, but that would be explained perhaps why it would go an hour plus.
Give me your sense of understanding and your expertise. I'm going to draw on this because you cover so many court stories here and are very legally inclined as well. Depending upon what the judge rules, is there a possibility that could be appealed?
Sure. I mean, and the other, we haven't even talked about the other.
That gets down another rabbit hole.
Well, what side would appeal it, and we'll see. I mean, obviously the Court of Appeals. I mean, this is in Texas. It's the 5th district as opposed to the 8th district up here in Minnesota. So I would guess that there are mechanisms for that. But one other layer that we've talked about, I saw a break on the internet a little earlier today. We've been following the storyline. Is the feds are very much interested in this Christian Castro in terms of possibly charging him for his actions involving the shooting and the lying about it. We know there was an investigation underway. There were a couple questions from national reporters at Minnesota's news conference last week asking what would happen if the feds swooped in. Major national news outlets said, prosecutors in Washington were getting close to making a final decision on charging Castro. So perhaps in the coming days, we could see the feds swoop in here and charge Christian Castro with federal offenses because of his actions.
That's a whole other layer.
It is.
And really counterintuitive to the narrative of what DHS has done and the Department of Justice so far, because mostly they've been publicly protecting the actions of these ICE agents during the president's immigration enforcement.
They would, and it would be a huge statement if that's what happens. I mean, I will tell you, I am hearing some noises about this. I wouldn't bring this up if it's kind of not possible. I do think the feds here, you have to remember, they initially charged those immigrants, including the one who was shot, with a crime. And then they had to drop that case.
And then it was the feds who said, no, that's not what happened.
And I don't remember the exact verbiage, but I remember at the time the head of, I can't remember, it was Homeland Security or maybe ICE was up on Capitol Hill and threw Castro under the bus for, his making up or lying about what had taken place and acknowledging it. And it was a pretty significant pronouncement. So they've been out there that they're not thrilled with this guy. So I do think they have an interest in what happens here. I don't think they're going to come in and save the day for Minnesota if the guy is released this week. But I do think that's another legal layer we'll eventually be talking about.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So many layers.
Yeah, and then, in the news when we were talking, like, who goes first? And I'm like, well, let's slow down. We don't know, does the state, the feds.
Give us a sense here of what our viewers on Fox 9 will see from you tonight. And when are you going to be on?
So I'm on tonight at 5 and 6. We'll have the very latest from the courtroom. We'll break down. We have, I've been going through the various documents, the arguments. So we'll break down some of the, get a little bit more into the nitty gritty and the actual verbiage. We're in here just kind of conversing off the cuff here, but we'll break down a couple of the arguments there. We'll look at, Castro's ties to Mexico. I mentioned his lover down there and the concerns about him getting across the border. There's also a statement in from, in fact, I could probably share it with you here. I have the statement from Attorney General Ellison just a little bit ago. His team sent me something. Let me just read it back quick. Today, my office vigorously argued Minnesota's case in federal court. We argued once again that Texas Governor Abbott has no discretion in the matter of Christian Castro's extradition to Minnesota. If Governor Abbott does not execute his legal and constitutional duty to return Castro to face justice here, Minnesota will suffer irreparable harm if Castro is instead set free and allowed to flee the country. Talk about Mexico. We also argued that Governor Abbott's claim that he needs to investigate whether Castro is a fugitive before signing this extradition order has no basis in law. The court said it hopes to have a written order tomorrow. I look forward to Castro's mandatory extradition to Minnesota to face the criminal assault charges the state has laid against him here for his actions during Operation Metro Surge. Of course, those things touch on everything we just talked about. Possible order tomorrow, the idea of is he or is he not a fugitive, and thus by legal definition subject to that 90-day, window and the signing, and then the concern about fleeing to Mexico. So we'll have it all. 5 and 6, Fox 9, and should a ruling come down late today, we're not expecting it, we'll have that for them, for our viewers too.
Something tells me that you and I are going to have a very good conversation either tomorrow or Thursday, right?
Yeah, probably. And honestly, highly likely.
All right.
Thanks,
Paul
Tim.
Bloom, our reporter. Look for his stories coming up tonight on Fox 9 News at 5 and 6 o'clock. All right, now coming up on 4:30 here, we're going to take a quick break and come back with more here on Fox 9 all day, streaming live on Fox Local. 4:31 now the time. Welcome back to Fox 9 All Day, everyone. My name is Tim Blotz. We're so grateful that you could spend your afternoon with us, no matter where you're streaming us from, either in your office or your home on your mobile device. We're glad to be here. Look, the big story of the day is the passing of Dolly Parton at 80 years old. I want to give you a live look right now at her star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, where people are leaving flowers and tributes. They're just stacking up there. Oh my goodness, more pictures, more flowers now over the course of the past hour as people are learning about her passing and just want to express some love and admiration for everything that she's meant to them and the world in general during her lifetime. I think everyone's got a special fond memory of either Dolly's music or her philanthropy or how she's made them feel over the years, right? So she is greatly going to be missed, and a lot of people are going to be talking about her in the next week for sure. Okay, we've got a really fun segment coming up here. The Minnesota State Fair, it opens on Thursday, of course, and for one Instagram creator, a viral joke has now turned into a first ever trip to our state fair. Back in April, Sierra Nicole Reese posted just a 6-second video, basically saying, forget Coachella, I'm going to the Minnesota State Fair. Are there any branding deals for that? Well, it got 4 million views on Instagram. And right after that, Visit St. Paul and Explore Minnesota reached out. They're going to make that trip happen. And we're going to be joined by Sierra right now. We're so grateful to have you here, and we cannot wait to welcome you to Minnesota. Thanks for joining us here.
Hi. I can't wait to come join y'all there too. It's going to be really great.
This is going to be great. So your 6-second video began with Forget Coachella. I'm trying to get to the Minnesota State Fair. What was it about the State Fair that captured your imagination or interest? How did you find out about us?
So I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up going to the New Jersey State Fair with my mom and my brother. And it's just like one of those very kind of nostalgic Americana type memories that just kind of like etches yourself in your brain. It's very one of a kind. So I grew up going to the fair with my mom and my brother, but every year I love watching like Minnesota State Fair based content, either on the internet, or I used to watch like a lot of Andrew Zimmern growing up. Like it was just one of those things that I always thought was really, really fun as a food person, as someone who just likes to be adventurous around food. So every single year on the internet or on YouTube, the internet, YouTube or TikTok or things like that, I'm just always curious, like, what are people eating? What are people doing? It just always seems like such a time, and I've always wanted to go. I've been to the Twin Cities before. I've been a couple of times, but I've never had a chance to go to the fair. So it all just aligned in a beautiful way as some things happen on the internet.
Oh my goodness. So when you made that post earlier this spring, did you ever think it would actually result in a trip here?
No, especially too, once you're in the content creation space and you just kind of understand the way that these platforms work, you learn not to chase virality. Virality happens by accident. You just kind of, especially if you're full time, you just kind of try and show up, do your best, make the best content that you can, and then you try and show up and do the same thing the next day. You never expect to wake up and something has millions of views. And that one specifically, I was just like, this is just a hee hee ha ha funny moment. Nobody's gonna see this. And then the complete opposite happened. I was like, oh, this did way different than I thought it was going to be.
Surprise. At what point did you realize that, oh my goodness, this is going to really happen? I've made a connection here.
When a bunch of brands just started, or local businesses started commenting, like especially when Minnesota State, Explore Minnesota themselves and the Minnesota State Fair commented, that's when I was like, oh, this is very visible right now. And this could be very real. And I was blessed enough that there's a local influencer manager, Cassie, who runs Lyra Management. She reached out and was like, hey, I think we can make this happen. And she was actually like the brain and the coordinator behind this entire project. And thankfully, Explore Minnesota, Minnesota State Fair, Visit St. Paul, were very creatively open-minded, and they were down to do this really unique creator project. And it's all just worked out really well. But the big thing that was important to me was making sure that it's not about me, because I'm a tourist to Minnesota. I'm not a local. Making sure that we're not only highlighting local businesses, but also supporting local creators in the process was like really, really important to me in the planning of this.
My goodness.
Sierra, sorry, Tim, I just want to jump in with something, because I feel like you're downplaying it there, Sierra. You were like, you posted it, I didn't think it could possibly do, and it obviously just summed up. And you did the thing that not a lot of people can do, and you summed up what an entire, possibly generation of people think, because, like, forget Coachella, I want to go and eat some Sweet Martha's cookies, because same. Like, I think a lot of people feel the same way as you, and you tapped into the zeitgeist, and that's a really difficult thing to do, and I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit.
I don't think I'm giving myself enough credit, because I didn't think of it that strategically, which is very opposite on how I think. Like, I have a master's of business administration, so I approach everything with a very straightforward plan. This was not one of those moments. It was, if anything, very contrary to how I tend to operate, where I'm like, yes, I'm a food creator, so I like to talk about food, so I'll share this because it's in alignment. But in thinking of it in the way that you're thinking of it, that is not what was in my brain at the time. But once I realized, like, this is resonating with people, that's when I kind of like turned my other brain on. I was like, okay, let's see what we can do here and how we can make it really special. But yeah, I think it also is just speaks to like the moment in the conversation that was having around Coachella and people's relationship with like influencer and brand trips and like what we think about them. And I think there's a much bigger cultural conversation with this around how we engage with the influencer economy in general that I think this kind of tapped on for people.
Well, here's the thing about the Minnesota State Fair. I mean, you can watch all the videos like you have in the past on social media and say, wow. But I've always told people in the past that there is no way that I can describe the Minnesota State Fair to you, because it's just this bigger than life cultural experience that we have in this state. For years, I've called this our campfire. This is our cultural campfire in this state, where everyone wants to come and gather around the campfire with their family and friends and hold hands and experience it together. It's a larger than life kind of experience. And a number of years ago, this is when Hillary Clinton was running for president, so that's how far back this goes. Her campaign manager came here, and I knew he was going to be at the fair, so I wanted to go speak to him. And his eyes were like this, and he said, I've heard about the fair. I had no idea until I came here about how big this thing really is and how people are drawn to it. So you're about to experience that for yourself, and I applaud you for wanting to see it for yourself so that you can tell other people about it, because it really is a cultural phenomenon.
So Sierra, I have to say as well, the reason I knew that this segment was going to go really well was because Tim Blotz is a massive fan of the State Fair. He's a walking encyclopedia of every possible different thing you can experience.
I don't know about that.
So I wanted to get the two of you together on television. Now is your chance to ask a State Fair aficionado any question about what needs to happen with your schedule. I want to know how planned your schedule is. Are you hitting up certain places? Are you given carte blanche to do whatever you like at the State Fair? And if you need tips, please ask Tim Blotz, because he will not send you down the wrong path.
Oh my goodness. I've been so blessed that I've gotten so much help and advice. It's honestly kind of overwhelming, because like everybody has their way that they do the fair. And because of just like Minnesota and Midwest kindness, like everyone is so welcome to share. And it's also interesting that this year, one of my like new mentors, like career mentors, is from Minnesota. So she's also been coaching me this, but like she became my mentor prior to any of this happening. So it was just like almost the universe wanted me to come there for some reason. So that's really interesting, but I just love hearing everybody's like their like strategy around it. Like everyone has their plan. They're like, they have their breakfast plan. They have their, you have to start here first or skip this. Like I love hearing the way everyone builds their own traditions around it. Yeah. So if you're willing to share yours, I love it. And I just think it's so interesting.
Well, the one thing I hope for you, and it sounds like you're going to be getting some expert guidance and advice, and you're going to have people leading around you. I don't know how long you're going to be here, Sierra, but boy, I hope you get some time just to be by yourself. And walk around and just drink it all in. And there's one thing I do hope you get a chance to see. And the 4-H kids every year, they have a llama costume contest.
Oh, I'm going to miss it. I'm so upset.
And,
next year.
And it is the best. The creativity that those kids put into that is just amazing. You could do a documentary alone just on those kids getting their llamas ready for the costume contest. And again, it's another one of those cultural phenomena of this giant campfire, as I've come to describe it, that's just so enduring. It's more than the food. It's more than the fried stuff on a stick. It's the kids showing the animals. It's all of the music that happens here. We've got hundreds of bands giving free concerts throughout the course of this fair. So it's a wonderful experience, and I just hope you get some time alone or with a partner that maybe you're bringing, or a girlfriend or boyfriend, just to experience it on your own for a moment, where you can just put the camera down and the phone, lock away the phone for a little bit and just say, I'm going to walk around. I want to drink it all in with my eyes and ears.
I will definitely keep that in mind. I think Explore Minnesota also recognizes how important that is in this kind of project. So I do have a day where I'm not like shooting and I can just like go and hang and be by myself and do it, which I love that. But yeah, I think I really appreciate, one, not only how passionate about everybody is, how everyone has been about the fair and sharing about it, and as well as how helpful everyone is. But I think the most important thing about putting this entire influencer project together was the collaborations with other creators, like working with Sade and Mizan, who are going to be like my 2 state fair guides, just because I think the thing that makes the fair so special and appealing to me coming as a tourist is exactly what you're saying about it, is that it is this very unique cultural experience for Minnesotans. And even if other fairs are kind of looking to this to say, okay, what do we want to do about this for next year? And somebody asked me that, I would say you need to invest in creating an experience that is so unique and so special to your core audience, your core people. That's what's going to want to make the people like me who are coming from out of state want to come, because it is built for Minnesotans by Minnesotans. It's not built with a me in mind. And because of that, that's why it is so appealing, is because it is made for y'all. It's made for Minnesotans. It's not made for tourists. That's what makes it authentic,
But here's
where
I think you're wrong.
Okay.
Well, and hear me out on this. Yes, it's the Minnesota State Fair. But seriously, Minnesotans will welcome you with open arms when you come.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they will want to show you. They're going to want to take you to their favorite food stand. They're going to want to take you. Oh, I had this beer up on Machinery Hill. Come follow me. I have to buy you one of these beverages, okay? Or you know what? Have you heard about the pizza, the pickle pizza? Come stand in line with me. I mean, people will bend over backwards to share this experience with you, and I think that's what you're going to find so endearing when you come.
I agree. And that my goal is that it continues to stay that way. I definitely have fears around like this becoming too overly commercialized in the way that we associate with Coachella and other brand trips and influencer trips, and making sure that that is not what happens as a result of that is really important to me. Like, I want to make sure that this continues to be that, like, very authentically Minnesotan, where I can just kind of come in and appreciate, Can
I ask a question? And hopefully this doesn't put you on the spot. Are you in a position to be completely honest with your content? Are you able to say, I didn't like this, or there was too many crowds? Like, I'm just getting it, like, it's obvious it's a sponsored trip, but are you in a position where you can kind of, we see it as this shiny, glowy, amazing thing, but are you in that position, or is that something that's not allowed in this sort of deal?
I wouldn't say not allowed, but I think there's a way that can be done, like, respectfully and tactfully. I think when you're a creator building an audience, you're building an audience because people trust you, and that trust is really important to me, and I don't want to violate it. But it is also, you have to be very mindful of your words and the way you go about them, especially as a food creator. If I'm going to restaurants or things, or trying local small businesses, understanding the way entrepreneurship functions and how difficult it is, and like what somebody's business and their livelihood means to them. Using the internet to to dismantle that is not, in my opinion, a good use of the internet as a tool, in my opinion. So I think there is a way, like if there's an aspect of my experience that I find less favorable than others, I think there's a way I want to be able to share that for my audience. Say next year they decide they want to come, but I think there's a respectful way that I can use my language in that way. But I would never go and use my audience to like speak overwhelmingly poorly. Yeah, put somebody on blast. I personally, that's not how I want to use my platform. But other people may do that. But that's exactly. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. Let me ask you this here. Obviously, you've been getting a lot of advice so far, and you're going to be working with a couple of other content creators in all of this. From what you've heard so far, what intrigues you the most? What are you wanting to see, and maybe what foods are you wanting to try that you've heard about?
I want to see the butter sculptures. Like that, I think that's the first thing we do.
It's so good. It's so good. I only saw it for the first time the last time I went to the state fair, and my mind was blown. The craftsmanship of this was incredible, and I don't want to like take the fire out of what you're excited for, but just getting to chat to the different Princess K's of the Milky Way.
Yeah.
They're so excited that they get to take home the butter sculpt, like the bust at the end. It's just. What a joy of a place. I'm so glad you said that.
You're never going to see that
like,
anywhere else on the planet.
No, and I think it's really interesting too, like aside from like that one, I'm not going to see it anywhere else on the planet, and that's the big thing. Like I was living overseas for the last year and a half doing my master's degree, and I moved back to the US at the end of December. And one of the things they don't tell you about living overseas is that you become so hyper aware of your nationality. And while I was living abroad, I was just like, I'm just realizing my Americanness way more than I normally would. But it made me really interested in like the unique things that we do in the States that are like just unique to us. You're not finding a butter sculpture nowhere else like that. We're not carving people into butter. And it's like, people are like, why does that matter? I'm like, what do you mean, why does that matter? It's a part of our it's just so, I think it's so interesting. Just Americana in that way. So I'm just so excited. And also I'm like, it's cold in there. Like, are we not cold? Like that to me, just the logistics of it, I think is fascinating.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the butter sculpture is one. What else?
Yes. I love doing the agricultural exhibits. Someone was telling me about Miracle of Life. I don't know if anything is going to be born, but that would be interesting or also traumatizing. Who knows? We'll find out.
Animals being born. Yes. Yeah. And
I really do love agricultural exhibits.
Yeah, it's going to be crowded in there.
Oh,
so you're going to have to elbow and muscle your way in, right? A little bit. You know. Have you
good
heard
to
about,
know. That's great advice.
About the crop art yet?
I have been told about crop art. So that is something to check out. There's just like, I have a list in my phone just to know like, okay, this is what I need to see. Mm-hmm. I hope I can get through all of it. But yeah, crop art has been recommended. Someone told me about hot tubs, like so many things.
All right. Sierra Nicole Reese, please tell us where people can follow you and how they can follow you and when to start looking for your content.
Yeah, so typically I route everything through my Instagram. My Instagram's at Sierra Nicole Reese, which is my full government name. I also post on TikTok at Sierra Reese, and I also have a newsletter called The Daily Cornbread that's run through Substack, and that's where I kind of share more long form thoughts about things. But you should expect state fair related content to start going live this Thursday, and it's really going to be really fun. I'm excited with everybody I'm going to work with, but this is a project that's been in the works for a couple of months now, and it's really exciting to see it come to fruition.
Sierra, we can't wait to welcome you here. My goodness. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And seriously, I want to personally congratulate you, too, on finishing up your master's. That's no small feat.
Thank you.
I recognize, I know how hard that is. I went through it myself a couple of years ago, and so congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
All right. You are going to be, you're going to be blown away. We can't wait to have you here. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sierra Nicole Reese, the social media influencer on Instagram, who's coming here to provide content for us and kind of show the world what goes on at the Minnesota State Fair. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're now coming up on 4:51, and we'll be back with more on Fox 9 All Day, streaming live on the Fox Local app. Welcome back, everyone. Tim Blotz here in Fox 9 All Day, streaming live in the Fox Local app this afternoon. I want to thank you for spending time with us here. My goodness, we've talked about so much here this afternoon. The conversation that we just had with Sierra Nicole Reese, the Instagram influencer coming to the State Fair, was just extraordinarily fun. And speaking of the State Fair, another milestone wrapping up the opening day here today, because the DNR stocked the fish pond, and this has become kind of a rite of passage to getting ready for opening day. Yeah, I think 60 different species of fish that they've got in there, representing all native Minnesota fish, everything from the walleye that you see there in the background to some of the trout. Okay, I see a gar back there. There's a garfish, and they've even got sturgeon floating around in there someplace too. So everything. And you could go, is that a paddlefish? I think that might be a paddlefish coming. And there's a trout, there goes a rainbow trout. So yes, the DNR pond, and there goes the sturgeon. Don't you love this? This is like, we should put this up.
This is like, we're just got our checklist.
Oh my goodness,
we're seeing they're all the ones are coming past.
Right? This is like going to the zoo and just sitting in a bench and watching the fish go by. You can leave this up on the screen just as our moment of zen here to take us out for the rest of the show. So much fun to watch. And you know where the DNR building is at the State Fairgrounds. And they just added all the fish in there this morning. Our Lauren Andrego was there for the Fox 9 Morning News, catching all of it for us. But by far the biggest story of the day is the passing of Dolly Parton at the age of 80. I want to take you to a live shot right now of her star along the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. In fact, we're going to go to her home instead. Paul, where is her home again? It's in Tennessee. It's in Brentwood, Tennessee. We've got some live video coming from outside the gates of Dolly's home where, there you go, where people are now leaving flowers and memorials and signs. "We love you always, Dolly," is the main sign there in front of the gate.
It's the most perfect sign imaginable.
Yeah.
"We will always love you."
Really? "We will always love you,"
Yeah.
which was the name of the song that she wrote for Whitney Houston. That really became Whitney Houston's iconic song and made Whitney a star.
I listened to an interview once with Dolly, and Elvis Presley really wanted to sing that song, and she didn't think it was quite right for him for the reasons that he wanted to sing it, and so she held on to it for quite a while. And she says it's the most, I mean, Whitney's song obviously did very well for her, but she said that that was probably the most stupid financial decision of her life. As a shrewd business person, Elvis singing that song would have made her a lot of money.
Sure would have.
But she held on to it for the right, what she said was the right moment. She didn't think that singing it for Priscilla when she knew what they were going through in their relationship was the right thing.
And funny, because you look back at that now, can you imagine anyone else singing that song? I mean, seriously.
I mean, the only version I like better is the very simple, her with the guitar, singing it herself.
Yeah.
You know, black and white on the show that she was on. I don't remember the name of it, but it was when it was first ever recorded. If you do yourself a treat, jump on YouTube, have a look. It is a joyful, joyful song.
You know, one of my favorite memories of Dolly, and this is going to probably give away my age a little bit, but I remember seeing Dolly on the Carson show, on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and she was Johnny's all-time favorite guest.
I can imagine.
And she would always appear with a guitar. She always came with a guitar and would sing a song on the old Carson show, and it was always great. It was a lot of fun. Of course, she would make fun of herself and her wigs and her rhinestones and everything else. And you know, the rhinestones and the costumes became her trademark over the years. But seriously, her brand will always be happiness and compassion. And that's why you see the outpouring of support that you see here in the Hollywood Walk of Fame and in front of even the gates of her home in Tennessee. We want to thank you for spending the afternoon with us here. Thanks for watching Fox 9 All Day.
This is Fox 9 News at 5.
Well, thanks for joining us here at Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Randy Meyer.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. We begin this hour with news out of Tennessee. Country music legend Dolly Parton has passed away at the age of 80. Her nephew announcing the news in an Instagram video today. Parton sharing an update on her health this past Friday as well. She said she'd been dealing with health issues following the death of her husband in March of 2025. Parton's career spanned decades, selling more than 100